Chapter 4904. Lu Ming had always suspected that there were Origin Realm Extreme Een corpses in the Purple Heaven Wonderland. However, because of the Origin Tribulation, the Origin Realm Extreme Een corpses were all in slumber. "Outsider, you dare to kill my subordinates." The Golden Eye Een corpse roared. Cold, killing intent flickered in his golden pupils. The black chi surging around his body was several times denser than the Silver Eye Een corpse. His aura was thick and terrifying. He held a tattered pitch-black halberd in his hand. He took a step forward and charged towards Lu Ming like a ray of light. "Let's see how strong this Golden Eye Een corpse is." Lu Ming charged forward with the War God's spear in his hand and engaged in a fierce battle with the Golden Eye Een corpse. The two of them were extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged more than a dozen moves. The other Extreme Een corpses were unable to interfere at all. The other Silver Eye Een corpses simply surrounded the Bone Demon. This made the Bone Demon rather depressed. He could only fight while fleeing. Fortunately, he was unscathed due to his immeasurably tough body. What a strong battle strength. This Golden Eye Een corpse's battle strength is not weaker than mine. Moreover, it is extremely difficult to deal with, Lu Ming thought in his heart. His face was solemn. The Golden Eye Een corpse's battle strength was extremely shocking. Lu Ming had already used all his methods. He used the Desolate style and the Sky-breaking style consecutively, but he still could not do anything to the Golden Eye Een corpse. Moreover, the Golden Eye Een corpse's defense and vitality were abnormally strong. Lu Ming also discovered that the Blue Firestone's restraining effect on the Golden Eye Een corpse was even smaller. Although it could not be said to be negligible, it could not play a decisive role. Very soon, after a few more moves, Lu Ming's figure suddenly retreated rapidly. With a few flashes, he appeared beside the Bone Demon. He activated the Desolate Ring and let the Bone Demon enter it. Then, Lu Ming quickly flew into the distance. It was not that he was afraid of the Golden Eye Een corpse. It was just that Lu Ming felt that there was no need to continue fighting. He could not do anything to the Golden Eye Een corpse. Rather than wasting his strength, it was better to leave. The Golden Eye Een corpse roared and led the Extreme Een corpse army to chase after Lu Ming. However, the Absolute Een corpse was not known for its speed. Even the Golden Eye Een corpse was not as fast as Lu Ming. After chasing for a while, it lost track of Lu Ming. "Damn it! Pass down the order. Kill all outsiders without mercy." The Golden-Eyed Een corpse angrily roared. Finally, it helplessly returned to the dark red ground. Its body sank into the ground and disappeared. After shaking them off for a while, Lu Ming stopped and released Xian Yanqing and the others from the Great Desolate Ring. Then, he told them about the Golden-Eyed Een corpse. It seems that the Extreme Een corpses on this island are extremely intelligent. The Extreme Een corpses have already formed a complete faction and are extremely difficult to deal with. Xian Yanqing sighed. In other places, the Extreme Een corpses they met were like a plate of loose sand. Although the Silver Eye Een corpse could also command the low-level Extreme Een corpses, it was definitely not so organized. The others also nodded. The Extreme Een corpses on this island were gathered together like a tribe. It was indeed difficult to deal with them. However, this island was very large. They would just have to avoid it in the future. After discussing for a while, they decided to avoid the dark red ground and continue to explore the other parts of the island. They continued to set off. Half a day later, they made another shocking discovery. Because they found another dark red ground on the other side of the island. The dark red ground emitted an aura that was almost the same as the one they had encountered before. When Lu Ming and the others had just stepped in, there were actually Extreme Een corpses charging out from under the ground. This time, Lu Ming and the others had learned their lesson and directly retreated. There was no need to tangle with these Extreme Een corpses. However, they were still very shocked in their hearts. On this island, there was actually more than one dark red ground. There were actually Extreme Een corpses living under each of them. They guessed that this dark red ground should have been soaked in the blood of some terrifying creature, creating a terrifying fierce land that was suitable for the Extreme Een corpses to cultivate in. In the end, Lu Ming and the others searched the entire island and found a total of 3 dark red lands. All of them had extreme Yin corpses. Other than these 3 dark red lands, there was nothing unusual in the other parts of the island. There were also no living creatures. Of course, they didn't find any divine medicines either. Let's find a place to settle down and wait. A few years isn't long anyway. Lu Ming said. They didn't have any plans to leave. At most, in a few years, the giant crack would extend to this place. At that time, not to mention the ancient city, even the resources contained in the 9 chi veins were unimaginable. One had to know that they had obtained more than 10 billion desolate crystals from the previous chi vein. In addition, there were large amounts of main-grade divine medicines, source-grade divine medicines, and even top-grade source-grade divine medicines. Moreover, there were immortal crystals among them. Their value was simply immeasurable. And there were a total of 9 such enormous meridians here. How could he miss out on such an opportunity? I know a place. It's at the edge of a chi vein. We'll settle down there. In these few years, we can cultivate, Dandan said. Naturally, no one had any objections. They immediately set off and arrived at a hill. This hill was adjacent to a chi vein. If that chi vein cracked open and a treasure flew out, they would be able to easily collect it. After arriving here, Dandan began to set up a formation. The main thing was the concealment formation, which could hide them. Even if people from other factions came, or if the Absolute Yin Corps came, they would not be able to find them. You guys stay here for now. I've found many precious metal deposits on this island. We can't miss this opportunity. I'll go get some. The ball was on the fairway. Qiuqiu's cultivation had already reached the peak of the Divine Lord level, and his cultivation mainly relied on devouring high-level divine weapons or metal materials. Cultivating here was of no use to him. Go, but remember to be careful. If you encounter people from other forces, try to avoid them as much as possible. Lu Ming said. Don't worry. I won't fight them head-on. Let's go. With that, Qiuqiu's figure flashed and he left. Dandan spent an entire day setting up a large-scale concealment formation. Then, Lu Ming took out the enormous desolate crystal vein. They began to dig out the primordial gems in the vein. After a final calculation, the number of desolate crystals in the vein reached 1 billion. There were also several hundred immortal crystals. Every immortal crystal contained an origin imprint. It was an important cultivation resource for origin realm experts. Afterward, the others also took out the desolate crystals and main-grade divine medicines they had obtained earlier. If they were all converted into desolate crystals, they would be worth more than 10 billion. These resources should be enough for the 5 of you to cultivate to the 9th layer of the Divine Lord realm. Lu Ming glanced at Ling Yue, Dandan, Bubbles, Wan Xin, and Tang Jun. Chapter 4905. Now, only Ling Yue, Dandan, Bubbles, Wan Xin, and Tang Jun were still at the 8th level Divine Master realm, and they needed a lot of resources to cultivate. Lu Ming had already reached the 9th level Divine Master realm, and the next step was to break through to the peak of the Divine Master realm. He no longer needed resources like desolate crystals and main-grade divine herbs. Ling Yue, Dandan, Bubbles, Wan Xin, and Tang Jun were all top geniuses, and the power they controlled was not to be underestimated. The resources they needed to cultivate were also shocking. On average, each of them needed 2 to 3 billion desolate crystals, but they had more than 10 billion desolate crystals, so it was about enough. A large number of main-grade divine herbs and desolate crystals piled up into a mountain. The 5 of them surrounded the mountain, each grabbing a desolate crystal and starting to refine it. Lu Ming, Bone Demon, Autumn Moon, and Xian Yanqing sat cross-legged outside, guarding Dandan and the others while comprehending their own secret techniques. Lu Ming sat cross-legged, circulating forbidden power. His body glowed, and specks of light filled the sky like stars. A yellow mud road appeared, leading to the depths of his dantian. My cultivation has reached the 9th level Divine Master realm, and my universe bridge should have reached the cosmic sea. Let's go take a look. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. After breaking through to the 9th level Divine Master realm, he had not cultivated properly. On the yellow mud road, Lu Ming's spiritual sense condensed, and then he stepped forward. He passed by the pool of blood. The blood was bright red and glowed as if it had just been spilled on it. What was the origin of this pool of blood? Lu Ming could not figure it out, so he could only ignore it and continue walking. This was Lu Ming's universe bridge, so he could control his speed. With one step, he entered the depths of the universe bridge, and after 2 more steps, he arrived at the end of the yellow mud road. In front of him was a boundless ocean. This ocean was filled with endless multicolored light. He took a step forward and entered the multicolored light. Within the light were endless stars, galaxies, star fields, and so on. He had become incomparably huge, and with a stretch of his hand, he could envelop a star field. These star systems were filled with rays of light. These rays of light were the source of the star systems. This origin was very clear. Lu Ming stretched out his hand to grab this origin, and could clearly feel it. The cosmic sea. That's right, it's really the cosmic sea. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. This was not the first time he had come to the cosmic sea. Back in the Taishang Immortal City's origin battle, he had won first place and had come to the cosmic sea once. That time, he had condensed the seed of the origin. This was the second time. This was the first time he had come to the universe sea. He had come to the universe sea through the yellow mud road by relying completely on himself. Why is it their perception sea origin? Origin is? Why is it origin so especially origin? Lu Ming was a little puzzled. The last time he came to the cosmic sea from the Grand Supreme Immortal City, his perception of the origin was already relatively clear because he was first. He had asked around, and the others were not as clear as him. Therefore, the seed of origin he had condensed was larger than the others. But now that he had come to the cosmic sea through the universe bridge, his perception of the origin was clearer than before. Under such conditions, as long as he comprehended the power of the origin, his speed would definitely be very fast. Could it be related to my taboo power? Lu Ming could not help but think so. Taboo power was no small matter, and his taboo power had undergone a qualitative change and was even more extraordinary. If it was related to the taboo power, it would make sense. In the distance, seems to be the ruins of the universe. Then, Lu Ming looked into the distance. The distance was shrouded in a dense light. The last time he came, Lu Ming could not see it clearly at all. But this time, Lu Ming could see more clearly. There seemed to be continents in the light, and they looked very much like the ruins of the universe. The cosmic sea seemed to be a projection of the primitive universe. Of course, there seemed to be a wider area on the other side of the ruins of the universe, but Lu Ming could no longer see it clearly. He retracted his gaze and looked at the yellow mud road again. The yellow mud road did not stop here but continues to extend forward. Where does it lead to? Lu Ming muttered, somewhat surprised and doubtful. He had heard others say that the universe bridge extended to the cosmic sea and stopped there. It would not continue to extend. The main function of the universe bridge was to allow the spiritual consciousness or consciousness of cultivators to come to the cosmic sea and comprehend the power of the origin. Therefore, the purpose of the universe bridge extending to the cosmic sea was achieved. However, he had never heard of a universe bridge extending to the cosmic sea and continuing to extend forward. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming stepped forward. With every step he took, it was as if he was crossing star fields. One star field after another passed under his feet. Soon, Lu Ming stepped into the area of the ruins of the universe along the universe bridge. Here, countless continent fragments were floating. These continent fragments seemed to be formed by rays of light. Lu Ming stretched out his palm and enveloped the countless continent fragments. The yellow mud road continued to extend forward. Lu Ming continued to move forward. After a while, he came to the edge of the ruins of the universe. The edge of the ruins of the universe was shrouded in a dense glow. This glow was like a barrier. Lu Ming could vaguely see that there seemed to be something behind the glow. However, no matter how hard he tried, he could not see it clearly. The yellow mud road did not stop. It passed through the dense glow and kept moving forward. There seemed to be no end to it. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming decided. He was very curious. If the cosmic sea was a projection of the primitive universe, then this place was the edge of the primitive universe. What would happen after passing through the edge? He took a step forward and prepared to move forward along the yellow mud road. However, he couldn't do it. He was blocked. Lu Ming was blocked by the dense glow. This kind of glow was really like a kind of barrier, blocking Lu Ming outside. No matter how hard Lu Ming tried, he could not pass through it. Why is this happening? I can pass through the yellow mud road. Why can't I pass through it? Lu Ming was puzzled. Lu Ming tried several times but failed. Lu Ming finally gave up. It's the same whether I have a forbidden body or not. I'll ask Senior Gu Changfeng later. Lu Ming pondered and did not continue. Then, he sat down cross-legged on the yellow mud road and sensed the origin around him clearly. If I want to break through to the peak of the Almighty Realm, I must let the origin power in the origin seed reach a certain concentration. However, what I need to do now is to transform the origin power in the origin seed into an origin power that belongs to me. Everyone's origin energy was different. They all had their own unique characteristics. It was formed by gathering one's essence, qi, and spirit based on the power one controlled. Chapter 4906. For example, Lu Ming had to use the taboo power as a foundation to condense the power of origin. In addition, he had to integrate his essence, energy, and spirit. Thus, it could be said that everyone's source energy was different. Even if the power they controlled was the same, after condensing their source energy, there would still be differences in their source energy. Lu Ming had condensed the power of origin a long time ago, but that kind of power of origin belonged to the general attribute and did not have personal characteristics. Before he broke through to the peak of the Almighty Master Realm, he had to convert it. However, it was not that easy to convert it successfully. Lu Ming had to have a deep understanding of the power of origin. Therefore, Lu Ming's temporary cultivation was to focus on comprehension. Time flew by as he meditated. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. In half a year, Lu Ming's comprehension of the power of origin had reached a new level. Convert. With a jolt of his heart, the power of origin in the origin seed in Lu Ming's body began to transform rapidly. Very soon, the power of origin in the origin seed was completely transformed into power of origin that contained Lu Ming's own characteristics. I didn't expect to succeed in half a year. Lu Ming opened his eyes and felt the power of origin in his body. He was delighted. This speed was much faster than he had imagined. He knew that the main reason was that he could clearly sense the power of origin in the cosmic sea. Otherwise, the conversion speed would not be so fast. After the first step of conversion was successful, the next step was to continue comprehending and slowly strengthen the power of origin. Once the power of origin reached a certain concentration, he would naturally be able to break through to the peak of the Almighty Master Realm. This process could not be done overnight. It needed to be accumulated slowly. However, Lu Ming could clearly sense the power of origin in the cosmic sea. He believed that this time would be greatly reduced. At least, he would save a lot of time compared to others. Lu Ming glanced at the others and found that Ling Yue, Bubbles, Wan Xin, and Tang Jun were still refining the desolate crystals and had not broken through. It was normal that they had not broken through. Even with the great heavenly origin refining array set up by Dandan, it was impossible to refine so many desolate crystals so quickly. It would take at least a year. Gu Mo was also cultivating, most likely comprehending Genesis techniques. Although Gu Mo could use Genesis techniques now, the more he comprehended them, the more proficient he would be at using them and the more powerful they would become. He didn't know what Xian Yanqing and Autumn Moon were comprehending, but they were probably comprehending Genesis techniques and origin power. Continue. Lu Ming closed his eyes, and his spiritual consciousness condensed on the yellow dirt road. Following the yellow dirt road, he re-entered the cosmic sea and continued to comprehend the power of origin. Time passed quickly, and another year and a half passed. Lu Ming and the others had been cultivating here for 2 years. Lu Ming's improvement was not small. The origin energy in the origin seed was much denser than before, nearly doubling. Of course, he was still far from reaching the peak of the Divine Master realm. However, it would also increase Lu Ming's battle prowess a little. Without mentioning anything else, the denser origin energy would pour into the War God Spear, and it would definitely be able to unleash more of its power. After 2 years of cultivation, Ling Yue, Bubbles, Wan Xin, and Tang Jun had all entered the 9th layer of the Divine Master realm. In this way, apart from Gu Emo and Qiu Qiu, Lu Ming's group of 10 were all at the 9th layer of the Divine Master realm. Their overall strength had greatly increased. Moreover, once they set up a joint attack formation, its power would definitely increase greatly. It could be said that they had gained a lot from this trip to the Purple Heaven Utopia. Rumble. The ground suddenly trembled, and a violent rumble came from deep underground. In the distance, the sea churned, and huge waves rose to the sky. Lu Ming and the others wore calm expressions as if they were used to this. This was because after 2 years, the huge cracks had already extended to the island. Over the past month, the island had frequently erupted with rumbles. It was only a matter of time before the veins beneath the island were torn apart. Not only that, but more than a year ago, Lu Ming had discovered that the creatures of the Forbidden Lands had already arrived on this island. This was because the creatures of the Forbidden Lands would often fly over their heads. However, Dandan had set up a concealment array here, so the creatures of the Forbidden Lands could not discover Lu Ming's group. Lu Ming had seen the Primordial Light Race, Fiend Yin Race, and Blue Sea Race before. Swish! Swish! Suddenly, several figures flew over Lu Ming's group, their speed astonishing. They quickly flew in a certain direction as if in a hurry. They were members of the Fiend Yin Race. The Fiend Yin Race seems to have something important to do. You guys stay here. I'll go take a look. After Lu Ming spoke, his figure flashed and he left the original spot, following behind the few Evil Yin clan members from afar. These few people from the Evil Yin clan were all experts. They were all peak almighty existences. However, they did not discover Lu Ming. After flying for a while, boom, 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 Lu Ming heard violent explosions coming from the front. Following the roars, a cold aura swept out in all directions like a wave. There's a place where the extreme Yin corpses live. Are the Fiend Yin Race and the extreme Yin corpses fighting? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. There was nothing strange about this. The extreme Yin corpses seemed to be hostile towards outsiders and wanted to kill all of them. It was normal for them to fight with the Fiend Yin Race. The few Evil Yin clan members dashed to the front at high speed. Lu Ming followed them and finally saw the situation in front clearly. At the edge of a dark red land, the extreme Yin corpses and the Fiend Yin Race were fighting fiercely. There were more than 1,000 extreme Yin corpses. However, there were more Fiend Yin Race members, close to 2,000 of them. Furthermore, the Fiend Yin Race members had blue firestones. Lu Ming realized that the Fiend Yin Race, like the Primordial Light Race, seemed to have some method to restrain the extreme Yin corpses and could easily penetrate the extreme Yin corpses' protective black energy. That is, Lu Ming looked up into the sky. There was a huge battle there that attracted Lu Ming's attention. 2 figures were fighting fiercely in the sky. The scene was extremely terrifying. One of them was a tall extreme Yin corpse. It was wearing tattered black armor and its eyes were golden. Its aura was terrifying. It was the extreme Yin corpse king and the golden eye Yin corpse. This golden eye Yin corpse was not the one that Lu Ming had fought with before. This was because it was on another dark red land. Obviously, this dark red land also had a golden eye Yin corpse guarding it. The one fighting with the golden eye Yin corpse was a Fiend Yin Race member. He looked very young in his 20s. However, his battle strength was extremely terrifying. It was hard to tell who had the upper hand in the battle with the golden eye Yin corpse. There's such an elite among the Fiend Yin Race. Did he enter Purple Heaven later? Lu Ming thought. He already knew that the Primordial Light Race, the Fiend Yin Race, and the Blue Sea Race had come to Purple Heaven to obtain resources. For example, various divine medicines and immortal crystals and immortal stones. Once they obtained the resources, they would send people to deliver them. Chapter 4907. Once the living beings of the 4 great forbidden lands obtained enough resources, they would send people to transport them out to awaken more living beings of the forbidden lands. In the past few years, the living beings of the forbidden lands had transported countless resources out of the Purple Heaven Cave. No one knew how many living beings of the forbidden lands had awakened. Most of the living beings of the forbidden lands that had awakened would enter the Purple Heaven Cave to obtain more resources and then transport them out, forming a virtuous cycle. Therefore, in the past few years, many of the living beings of the 3 great forbidden lands had entered the Purple Heaven Cave. It was not strange that there were existences comparable to the Golden Eye Een corpse. For example, the terrifying expert of the baleful Een race. He had never seen him before. Perhaps he had entered from the beginning, or perhaps he was a new expert. In short, after 2 years, the situation in the Purple Heaven Cave had become more and more complicated. Even though Lu Ming's combat strength was not what it used to be, he did not dare to let his guard down. You're just a mixed blood of the extreme Een race. To put it bluntly, you're just a mixed blood. How dare you try to kill my race? You're overestimating yourself. The terrifying expert of the baleful Een race said coldly. His voice was cold and arrogant. Facing the extreme Een corpse, he was like a superior looking down on a subordinate. Extreme Een race? What race is that? Lu Ming was puzzled. This was the first time he had heard of the extreme Een race. Die! The Golden Eye Een corpse's golden eyes were filled with anger. He held a broken bronze battle sword in his hand and attacked crazily, unleashing a terrifying attack. This level of combat prowess was truly astonishing. Even an expert at the level of King Guangqian would be severely injured in a few moves. However, the expert of the baleful Een race was also very powerful. It was hard to tell who had the upper hand in the battle with the Golden Eye Een corpse. Below, there were as many as 6 Silver Eye Een corpses among the extreme Een corpses. However, they were all blocked by the baleful Een race experts. Overall, the baleful Een race had the upper hand. From time to time, there would be extreme Een corpses being killed. Suddenly, the Golden Eye Een corpse let out a terrifying roar. The sound pierced through the clouds and spread far and wide. Suddenly, the ground shook. At the same time, a roar came from the depths of the dark red ground. The roar was filled with anger, and a horrifying cold aura rushed over in a frenzy. Another Golden Eye Een corpse. Lu Ming's pupils suddenly shrank, revealing a look of shock. On this dark red land, there was actually more than one golden-eyed Een corpse. At this moment, what was rushing out from the depths of the dark red earth was clearly another golden-eyed Een corpse. How could a mere mixed blood form such a high-level extreme Een tribe? Damn it, back off! The terrifying expert from the baleful Een race roared. Following his orders, the other members of the baleful Een race all retreated. However, although they retreated, they did so in an orderly manner, not leaving any openings for the absolute Een corpse. At the same time, the baleful Een expert was also retreating as he fought. In the depths of the dark red earth, the second golden-eyed Een corpse was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it had arrived nearby. Set up the formation and stop him. The terrifying expert from the baleful Een race ordered. Below them, a joint attack formation was set up. This was actually a 21-man combined attack array, condensing a huge Een Fiend Ghost King, much more terrifying than a 15-man combined attack array. The Een Fiend Ghost King rushed into the sky and exchanged a blow with the second golden-eyed Een corpse. Both sides retreated at the same time. The baleful Een race retreated as they fought. The baleful Een race's speed was extremely fast, and their bodies were like ghosts. The absolute Een corpse could not catch up to them at all. After a while, the baleful Een race calmly retreated. Lu Ming also left secretly without alerting the others. He returned to the concealment formation and recounted what he had just seen. After Xian Yanqing, Qiu Moon, and the others heard this, they fell into deep thought. The situation was becoming more and more complicated, and there were too many experts. In the years when the Great Origin Tribulation had just descended, existences at the level of the strongest Lord of Heaven represented the strongest divine masters. Existences at this level in other factions were called the strongest divine masters. Once the strongest Lord of Heaven appeared, the other divine masters could only avoid him. They were simply unmatched. However, later on, as the creatures of the Forbidden Lands appeared, more and more experts appeared. The strongest Lord of Heaven did not seem that strong anymore. Guangqian Emissary was much stronger than the strongest Lord of Heaven by a large margin. Now, existences stronger than Guangqian Emissary were constantly appearing. The Golden Eye Corpse of the Absolute Yin Corpse, the Yi Immortal, the terrifying experts of the creatures of the Forbidden Lands, and those joint attack formations, the situation was too complicated. Even though Lu Ming and the others were getting stronger and stronger, they did not dare to be careless at all. There are many creatures of the Forbidden Lands. They will definitely clash with the Absolute Yin Corpse. We can continue to stay here and watch the tigers fight. Gumo said. Everyone nodded and continued to cultivate in the concealment formation. Not long after, Qiuqiu returned. For the past 2 years, Qiuqiu had been mining metal on the island and had only returned now. Qiuqiu brought back a piece of news. The creatures of the 3 Forbidden Lands had indeed sent many terrifying experts. During this period, there had been more than one conflict with the Absolute Yin Corpse. The experts sent by both sides were shockingly strong. There were existences at the level of the Golden Eye Corpse. Moreover, the creatures of the 3 Forbidden Lands had begun to divide the 9 Qi veins. They began to send people to guard the various Qi veins and wait for the treasures to fly out. As expected, after Qiuqiu returned for 2 days, a large group of experts descended on this area. The Baleful Yin race. They were the Baleful Yin race. There were about 2,000 of them. The area where they landed was less than 10,000 miles away from Lu Ming and the others. They were on the other side of this Qi vein. 10,000 miles was a very short distance for a divine master. Lu Ming and the others could easily see them. However, they had the concealment formation, so the Baleful Yin race could not see them. Damn it. They're clearly trying to steal our resources. Dandan said unhappily. Although they had broken through to the 9th level of the Divine Master Realm, the primal crystals were not very useful to them. However, no one would complain about having too many primal crystals. If they brought back the Heaven Destroyer, they could give it to their friends and family. They could also exchange it for other precious treasures. Moreover, there were precious immortal crystals and source-level divine medicines in the Qi veins. Now that so many Baleful Yin race had arrived, they were too much of a hindrance. Just like that, a few more months passed. More and more cracks appeared in the surroundings, and the rumbling from the depths of the ground grew louder. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, streams of purple-golden paradise divine light shot out from his Qi channels, forming pillars of light that pierced through the sky and into the firmament. However, the heavenly abode light was not as dense as everyone had imagined. It was far from comparable to the previous Qi vein. It would appear that the heavenly paradise divine light in the heavenly paradise meridians is being continuously extracted by the ancient city's spirit formation. As a result, the heavenly paradise divine light in the heavenly paradise meridians is not very dense. Dandan analyzed. There probably won't be any giant beasts in there, right? Bubbles said. I'm not very sure. Dandan said hesitantly. Chapter 4908. If the heavenly paradise light in the meridians wasn't very dense, they could use the armor that Dandan and Bubble had refined to enter and take the treasures. However, they couldn't be sure if there were any giant beasts condensed from heavenly paradise light in the meridians. The previous meridian had condensed 2 giant beasts. None of the 9 meridians here were smaller than the previous one. Would there be any giant beasts in there? Under normal circumstances, it was most likely possible. However, because the ancient city's formation was constantly absorbing the heavenly paradise light in the meridians, they couldn't be sure. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Along with the heavenly paradise light was a large number of desolate crystals. One could see that the great desolation crystals were like specks of stars as they flew out in all directions together with the heavenly paradise divine light. The Baleful Yin tribe members acted. Waves of Baleful Yin Qi swept out and swept away the desolate gems one by one. They could even see an immortal crystal mixed in from time to time. Desolate crystals were called immortal stones in the previous epic. Immortal crystals were even more precious as they contained origin imprints. Damn it. We've been guarding here for so long for nothing. Dandan gnashed his teeth in anger. Lu Ming and the others also felt that it was a pity. Immortal crystals weren't immortal stones. Immortal stones weren't of much use to them. However, immortal crystals would be of great use once they reached reciprocity. With their talent, breaking through to reciprocity in the future was a certainty. Therefore, it was necessary to store immortal crystals in advance. They were naturally envious when they saw immortal crystals fall into the hands of the baleful Yin race. However, they were too close. As soon as they tried to take the immortal crystals and immortal stones, they would be discovered by the baleful Yin race. There were around 2,000 baleful Yin race members. They were definitely experts. Lu Ming recognized a young baleful Yin race member among them. He was the one who had clashed with the golden-eyed Yin corpse. Just him alone was enough to fight with Lu Ming. Not to mention, there were so many experts comparable to Guangqian royal emissaries. The combined formations were also extremely terrifying. Once Lu Ming and the others were discovered, they definitely wouldn't be their opponents. I'll secretly collect them with the power of space-time. They shouldn't be able to discover us. Bubbles said. That's right, the power of space-time. It can affect space-time silently. Good, hurry up and attack. Dandan said impatiently. Some time later, another violent tremor came from the depths of his meridians, followed by a burst of heavenly abode light, accompanied by a huge amount of immortal crystals and immortal stones. This time, Bubble made her move. He pressed his hands forward, and two ancient origin characters appeared between his eyebrows. A silent fluctuation spread out. Even the void and space-time in the distance were affected. Many immortal crystals and immortal stones that were flying around suddenly disappeared into thin air. In the next moment, they appeared in the concealment formation Lu Ming and the others were in. Bubble used the power of space to intercept the immortal crystals and immortal stones. Then, it used the power of time to erase all fluctuations. It was completely silent and did not cause the slightest fluctuation. At the same time, the baleful Yin clansmen also attacked. Baleful Yin Chi swept out and swept away the immortal crystals and immortal stones. However, they immediately realized that something was wrong. That's strange. Why are there so few of them? I think so too. I clearly saw a lot of immortal crystals and immortal stones flying out, but when I collected them, I didn't see that many. Am I seeing things? Everyone can't be seeing things, right? Many baleful Yin clansmen were discussing, bewildered. The young baleful Yin clansman was also bewildered. He looked around but did not find anything unusual. Bubble, collect less next time. If the difference is too big, they might notice something. Lu Ming said to Bubble. Alright. Bubble nodded. As expected, the next time the immortal crystals and immortal stones flew out, Bubble collected less and left more for the baleful Yin clansmen. After all, it was a long shot, right? It was not easy to snatch food from the baleful Yin clansmen's mouths. This time, the baleful Yin clansmen also realized that what they saw was different from what they collected. However, the difference was not very big, and they did not find any clues, so they left it at that. Only the terrifying young leader of the baleful Yin clansmen was still puzzled. That's not right. This time, I saw clearly that many immortal stones disappeared into thin air. The young baleful Yin clansman thought to himself, his eyes flashing fiercely. It seems that someone is secretly trying to snatch food from the tiger's mouth. You're courting death. I will find you. His body flickered like a ghost. Very thin strands of baleful Yin Chi spread out and penetrated the void like threads. He was surrounded by a large number of baleful Yin clansmen, so Lu Ming and the others did not notice his strange behavior. Just like that, every time immortal crystals and immortal stones flew out, Bubble would intercept a portion of them. Over the course of 2 months, the number of immortal stones, or chaos crystals, which were later replaced by immortal stones, that Bubble had intercepted numbered in the hundreds of millions. Bubble had only collected a small portion. The baleful Yin clansmen had collected at least a few 100 million immortal stones. After Bubble collected another portion of immortal stones, the young baleful clansman's eyes suddenly shone with a cold light. I've finally found you. You were hiding in a concealment formation, using the power of time and space to collect immortal crystals and immortal stones. But don't think you can hide from me. The young baleful clansman shouted coldly. His body shot up into the sky, bringing with it surging baleful chi as he rushed toward where they were. A distance of 10,000 miles could be covered in an instant for an expert of this level. Oh no, we've been discovered. Lu Ming and the others' expressions changed. At this time, the young baleful clansman had already reached them. He slapped out a huge palm that covered the sky and smashed down on Lu Ming and the others. This scene was too sudden. By the time Lu Ming and the others reacted, the violent power had already reached them. The concealment formation that Dandan had set up rumbled violently. After all, the concealment formation was not a defensive formation. Its defensive power was not strong. Under the pressure of such a terrifying power, it immediately collapsed. When the concealment formation collapsed, Lu Ming and the others were naturally exposed. So it's a remnant of the void universe. How dare you snatch food from the tiger's mouth in front of me? The young baleful clansman shouted coldly. Baleful chi surged out and turned into a ferocious evil spirit that pounced on Lu Ming and the others. The evil spirit opened its mouth and roared, wanting to swallow Lu Ming and the others. The young baleful clansman was very terrifying. He was an existence that could fight against the golden-eyed corpse. Once he attacked, the power was earth-shattering. Bone Demon, Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon and the others' expressions changed drastically as they felt a great pressure. Buzz. Lu Ming attacked. The war god's spear trembled and a spear radiance shot up into the sky, colliding with the evil spirit. Chapter 4909. When the spear light collided with the evil spirit howled. It was clearly an attack from the baleful youth, but it seemed to be alive. Finally, with a boom, the evil spirit exploded. Lu Ming's body swayed as he retreated 2 steps. The baleful youth exclaimed in surprise as he sized up Lu Ming in shock. He clearly hadn't expected Lu Ming to be able to block his attack. His fighting strength could truly be considered invincible among divine masters. In the divine master realm, those who could block his attack could be counted on one hand. When he discovered that Lu Ming's cultivation was only at the 9th tier divine master realm, he was even more shocked. If a 9th tier divine master had such fighting strength, then wouldn't he be even more terrifying after reaching the peak of the divine master realm? Then wouldn't an invincible divine master like him become a joke? He had to kill him. At this moment, the other baleful elites were also rushing over. Lu Ming, he's Lu Ming. A baleful youth comparable to the Guangqin royal emissary roared. He recognized Lu Ming. This person had seen Lu Ming at the Heron ancient mine. In the end, he had been nearly scared to death by Lu Ming and had fled in a sorry state. So you're Lu Ming? Very good, I've heard of your reputation when I first came to Purple Heaven. I'll take your head to celebrate the awakening of me, Gai Shak. The baleful youth, Gai Shak, said coldly. His body was like a bottomless pit that constantly spewed out baleful chi. The world was pitch black, shrouded by his baleful chi. A terrifying aura pressed down on everyone like an abyss. All of you, enter the chaos ring. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Xian Yanqing and the others as he secretly opened the chaos ring. A suction force enveloped Xian Yanqing and the others. Lu Ming, you have to be careful. Young master, be careful. Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, and the others asked with concern. They could feel how terrifying Gai Shak was. Although they knew that Lu Ming was strong, they couldn't help but worry. At the same time, they also knew that it would be best for them to enter the Great Desolate Ring. It was much easier for Lu Ming to escape alone than for a group of people. With a flash, they entered the ancient Desolation Ring, leaving Lu Ming alone. Gai Shak's gaze turned cold as he coldly said, "Do you think it's useful to store the others away? If I kill you, the others will die too." As soon as he finished speaking, a black banner appeared in Gai Shak's hand. Streaks of Yin Qi revolved around the black banner, and it was covered with ferocious and terrifying patterns. It was obvious that this was an extremely high-level source-grade weapon. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Gaishak waved the black banner in Mengdi's hand. Immediately, a strong wind blew, and black chi soared into the sky. Roars came from the black banner, and then huge evil spirits rushed out of the black banner and pounced on Lu Ming. There were a total of 9 of them, and each of them was extremely terrifying, emitting a cold and sinister aura. Chaos style. Lu Ming directly struck out with the chaos style. A continent formed and suppressed the 9 evil spirits. At the same time, he became one with his spear and executed the sky-breaking style. It turned into a bright spear light and pierced towards Gaishak. Do you think you can fight me in close combat? The king of evil ectoplasm shouted coldly. His body quickly swelled up, and his originally handsome face became ferocious. His body grew several times larger, and he used the black banner as an iron rod. He swept it out and collided with Lu Ming's spear light. Clang! There was a loud explosion, and the force was rampant. Gaishak's body shook violently, and he retreated violently, stepping on the void. However, Lu Ming's attack was also blocked, and his body floated back. Lu Ming felt a cold and sinister aura surging from the war god's spear, and even a small part of it passed through the top source-grade armor and attacked Lu Ming's body. It was destroyed by Lu Ming's taboo force. What a terrifying baleful yin chi! Lu Ming was shocked. In a head-on confrontation, the baleful yin chi could pass through the top source-grade armor. Although it was only a small part, it was absolutely amazing. Yin Jioling under Dark Knight Rose also controlled the baleful yin chi, but compared with Gaishak, it was simply a small child. The difference was too great. However, Gaishak was even more shocked. He felt that Lu Ming's power was simply too sharp and invincible. It almost broke his layers of protective baleful yin chi and injured his body. It should be known that except for the Origin Realm experts, no one in the Divine Lord realm had injured him for many years. At this time, the 9 evil spirits also collided with the primitive form and disappeared. Kill! Lu Ming shouted. As soon as his figure retreated, he immediately launched a counterattack. He took the initiative to attack Gaishak. The primitive form and the heaven-breaking form were displayed consecutively. Gaishak's speed was also very fast. He also attacked with all his strength. The world was completely enveloped by the baleful yin chi. Soon, the two exchanged more than 10 moves. After more than 10 moves, Lu Ming began to gain the upper hand. Gaishak's baleful yin chi was very powerful and terrifying. Not only was it extremely cold, but it could also corrode and devour the flesh and blood of living creatures. Unfortunately, Lu Ming's forbidden power was too strong. It seemed to be able to restrain the baleful yin chi. Coupled with the protection of the top source-level divine armor, the baleful yin chi could not do anything to Lu Ming at all. Although Gaishak also had the top source-level divine armor, Lu Ming was still slightly stronger in terms of frontal strength. After more than 10 moves, Gaishak began to retreat. How could this be? The other baleful yin race members could not believe their eyes when they saw this scene. Gaishak, who was undefeated and known as the invincible divine lord, was actually at a disadvantage. Moreover, his opponent was a 9th-layer divine lord. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would have found it hard to believe. Set up the formation, kill him for me. Gaishak roared in rage. He no longer planned to fight Lu Ming one-on-one. He planned to use the formation to kill Lu Ming. The other baleful yin race experts immediately began to set up formations. 221 people combined attack formations were set up, forming 2 gigantic baleful yin ghost kings. Yes, there were actually 2 21-man combination formations among the baleful yin race members. The 2 massive baleful yin ghost kings lunged at Lu Ming from 2 different directions, their ghost chi soaring into the sky and causing the world to turn cold. A normal peak Divine Lord expert would have been frozen to death by this terrifying ghost chi before they could even get close, let alone fight with these baleful yin ghost kings. Swish! Lu Ming pushed his speed to the limit, turning into a streak of light as he retreated, dodging the 2 baleful yin ghost kings. You want to win with numbers? Let's fight another day. Lu Ming sneered and turned to leave. Lu Ming was well aware that he would be defeated while facing Gaishak and two 21-man combination formations, and he would find it difficult to escape unscathed. Naturally, leaving was the best course of action. Although his battle power was slightly stronger than the King Evil Spectre, that was because his forbidden power could restrain the other party. However, there was a limit to how strong he could be. It would be very difficult for him to injure the other party, let alone kill the other party. Thus, leaving was the best course of action. Chapter 49:10. Don't even think about leaving, Gaishak roared. His figure was like a ghost as he chased after Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. However, although Gaishak's speed was fast, the two Yin Fiend Ghost Kings weren't as fast. After all, the Yin Fiend Ghost Kings were formed by the Yin Fiend race's combined attack formation. This combined attack formation specialized in offense and speed wasn't its forte. In fact, there were many types of combined attack formation. Some combination formations were good at offense, some were good at defense, and some were good at speed. However, most of the combined attack formations specialized in offense. After all, the purpose of gathering the power of many experts together was to increase the offensive power. There were also many combined attack formations that specialized in defense, but there weren't as many as those that specialized in offense. As for combined attack formations that specialized in speed, there were even fewer of them. The main reason was that they weren't very useful. There weren't many people who could refine such a combined attack formation. What was the purpose of the carrier of the array formation that he had painstakingly refined, which was known for its speed? Was it to escape? Of course, there were also combined attack formations that were very strong in all aspects. However, these combined attack formations were rarer and more precious. The corresponding combined attack formations carrier was also harder to refine. For a combined attack formation with the same number of people, this type of combined attack formations carrier was even more precious. Lu Ming's speed was also very shocking. He was like a ray of light as he disappeared into the distance in an instant. Only Gaishak was able to keep up with Lu Ming's speed. As for the other Yin Fiend race members, they were left far behind. The two of them, one chasing and one fleeing, flew hundreds of thousands of miles away in the blink of an eye. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly stopped. The war god's spear was like a mountain range as it smashed towards Gaishak. Gaishak waved the black banner and blocked it. Boom! Following that, Lu Ming struck out with his palm. A huge continent formed and pressed down on Gaishak. Gaishak controlled the 9 evil spirits to block it. With this delay, Lu Ming quickly escaped. Damn it! Gaishak roared in anger. However, he didn't continue to pursue. He knew that he couldn't stop Lu Ming alone. Not only was Lu Ming's combat strength strong, but his speed was also faster than he had imagined. Originally, he wanted to delay Lu Ming and wait for the combined attack formation to arrive, but he realized that it was impossible. This Lu Ming is really terrifying. When his cultivation reaches the peak Divine Master, no one below the origin level will be able to stop him. I have to send a message to the Infernal King and join forces with him. That's the only way. Luof. The king of the evil ectoplasms whispered. His body flashed and he left the place, and Ginfernals, coms, of them about. Ice and the tea. Lu Ming, what are your plans now? Xian Yanqing asked Lu Ming. I estimate that there are creatures of the Forbidden Lands near the 9 Qi meridians. We can't let the creatures of the Forbidden Lands get the treasures under the Qi meridians. We can only watch. Lu Ming said. His eyes were filled with killing intent. What do you plan to do? Dandan hurriedly asked. He knew Lu Ming very well and knew that Lu Ming didn't have good intentions. The evil Yin race won't let us have an easy time. Naturally, we can't let them have an easy time either. Now, it's up to Dandan and Bubbles. If the two of you work together, can you make me kill the Fiend of Yin silently? Lu Ming said coldly. Of course. Leave it to us. I love this kind of thing the most. Bubbles and Dandan nodded. Especially Dandan, his smile was treacherous and cold. The group discussed and perfected the details. Then, Dandan set up a concealment array on Lu Ming and Bubbles. After the array was completed, Lu Ming sent Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, Dandan and the others back into the ancient ring. He and Bubbles returned to the vicinity of the Qi meridians silently. The king of the evil ectoplasm had returned. The evil Yin race rearranged themselves around the Qi meridians, ready to grab the immortal crystals and immortal stones that flew out of the Qi meridians. Kill those who are attacking the array first. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Bubbles. Bubbles nodded. Wrapping Lu Ming with the power of time and space, the two of them charged toward the evil Yin race. Bubbles' cultivation had reached the 9th-tier Divine Lord realm, so his control over the power of time and space had improved. His comprehension of the two origin ancient words, time and space, had deepened. They traveled through the void as though they were in another world, but also as though they were traveling between the past and the future. When they got close, the evil Yin race didn't notice. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Suddenly, Lu Ming attacked, thrusting his spear 3 times in a row. 3 beams of spear light shot toward 3 evil Yin race experts. He hadn't sent out more spear lights because he was afraid that the power would be scattered and he wouldn't be able to kill them in one strike. Lu Ming was confident that he could kill them in one strike if he sent out 3 beams of spear light at once. The 3 evil Yin race experts he was targeting were the 3 who had set up the array of 21. If he wanted to attack, he would naturally target the one who posed the greatest threat to him. And the 21 people's joint attack formation was undoubtedly the greatest threat to him. Be careful! Gaishak sensed Lu Ming's attack the moment he attacked. With a furious roar, he charged toward Lu Ming in a frenzy. The evil Yin race experts who had set up the array also sensed it. However, setting up a joint attack formation required time. Although the time required was very short, it would still require time no matter how short it might be. Lu Ming suddenly attacked as he approached. His speed was so fast that it was too late for them to set up the array of combined attacks. Lu Ming pierced the skulls of the 3 experts from the malevolent Yin clan. The terrifying destructive power crushed them into pieces, killing the 3 experts from the malevolent Yin clan. A skull hung from each of their bodies. These skulls were the carriers of the array of combined attacks. Lu Ming waved his hand and put away the 3 skulls. The other evil Yin race experts were shocked and frantically retreated. As for Gaishak, he charged over and struck with a terrifying blow. Swoosh! Lu Ming retreated quickly. Beside him, Bubble circulated the space-time energy to wrap around Lu Ming. In an instant, the two of them quickly retreated silently. The evil Yin race did not even see Lu Ming and Bubble's shadows. The space-time energy. It's Lu Ming. Damn it, damn it. Gaishak roared furiously, his face ferocious. A combined attack of 21 had lost 3 people just like that. Most importantly, the carriers of the 3 combined attacks had been taken away by Lu Ming. He could send people to replace them after they died. As long as they were trained for a period of time, the combined attacks could still operate. However, the loss of the carriers meant that the array of combined attacks was as good as useless. It was extremely difficult to replace the carriers of the array of combined attacks. The price to pay was also shocking. He was furious and wished he could cut Lu Ming into pieces. Set up the array. Be careful not to scatter. Gaishak continued to roar. Chapter 49:11. The Fiend Yin race members began to set up their joint attack formations. 7-man joint attack formations, 9-man joint attack formations, 12-man joint attack formations, all the way up to 21 joint attack formations. The living beings of the Forbidden Lands have an astonishing foundation. So many joint attack formations. In the distance, Lu Ming and Bubble stood in the dark, observing the Fiend Yin race members' reactions. Just over 2,000 Fiend Yin race members had set up close to 30 joint attack formations. Of course, most of them were 7-man or 9-man joint attack formations, but this was already shocking enough. When 7 ordinary 9th-level Divine Masters set up a 7-man joint attack formation, their battle prowess would be comparable to that of the strongest Heavenly Lords. A 9-man joint attack formation was even stronger. If all the people setting up the formation were peak Divine Masters, a 9-man joint attack formation would be comparable to several experts on the same level as the strongest Lord of Heaven. Not to mention the even stronger 12-man or 15-man joint attack formations. However, Lu Ming did not care about these joint attack arrays at all. The only thing that concerned Lu Ming and posed a threat to Lu Ming was the 21-man joint attack formation. There are actually two 21-man joint attack formations, Lu Ming muttered in his heart. He was very shocked. When the Fiend Yin race had attacked him earlier, they had only deployed two 21-man joint attack formations to attack him. Lu Ming had thought that there would only be two 21-man joint attack formations among the 2,000 Fiend Yin race members. He hadn't expected that there would be three of them. There was still one that hadn't been set up. Lu Ming guessed that the Fiend Yin race members were most likely trying to hide their strength. After all, there was a lot of competition on the island right now. A hidden strength could play a decisive role at a critical moment. But now, the Fiend Yin race members couldn't care less about hiding their strength. If they continued to hide, they might be secretly killed by Lu Ming. Many combined attack arrays condensed Yin Fiend Ghost Kings of different sizes. They surveyed the surroundings. As long as Lu Ming appeared, they would give him a thunderous blow. But how could Lu Ming appear now? They can't keep defending in formation. Their strength will be exhausted. When their strength is exhausted, the formation will no longer be able to be maintained. That will be the time for us to strike. Lu Ming and Bubble communicated in secret. Time ticked by, but Lu Ming didn't appear. The Fiend Yin race members setting up the formation couldn't hold on much longer. This Lu Ming must be waiting for us to lose the formation to launch a sneak attack. Damn it, Gaishak was very smart. How could he not know what Lu Ming was thinking? Disperse the formation and gather together to defend. Remember, it's a 21-man combined attack formation. Hide in the middle. The Fiend Yin race members of the Fiend Yin race heard Fiend Yin race members. The Fiend Yin race, the formation, the Fiend Yin race, the Fiend Yin race formed Yin race. How naive of them to think of using this method to stop me. Don't they know that space-time power can ignore space? Bubble chuckled. Then the space-time power enveloped Lu Ming and himself. In a flash, he charged towards the Fiend Yin race members. The Fiend Yin race members forming a circle might be useful to others, but it was useless to living beings who were proficient in space-time power. Lu Ming and Bubble appeared silently above the Fiend Yin race members. The battle god's spear stabbed out, and 3 spear radiances shot out towards 3 Fiend Yin race members. These 3 Fiend Yin race members were part of another 21 joint attack formation. Lu Ming, you're courting death. Gaishak had been hovering in the sky. Wisps of Fiend Yin chi seeped into the void as he observed every movement in the surroundings. Before Lu Ming made his move, Gaishak hadn't sensed it. However, once Lu Ming made his move, the minute energy fluctuations were immediately detected by Gaishak. Gaishak waved the black banner. 9 ferocious evil spirits roared as they charged towards Lu Ming. However, they were still one step too slow. Lu Ming used the sky-splitting form. 3 spear radiances were faster than flowing light. The 3 Fiend Yin race members he had chosen were only ordinary peak almighty masters. How could they dodge? The 3 spear radiances pierced through and killed the 3 Fiend Yin race members. As for Lu Ming and Bubbles, they were already tens of thousands of miles away at lightning speed. It's a pity that I only got 1 skull this time. However, it's enough. Lu Ming opened his palm. There was a pitch-black skull in his palm. He had wanted to take all 3, but Gaishak had acted too quickly. There was no time, so he had only taken 1. However, taking 1 was enough. The 21 joint attack formation was no longer perfect. Even if he found others to replace them, he could only set up a 21 joint attack formation. Lu Ming was no longer afraid of the imperfect 21 people combined attack array. This way, 2 of the Fiend Yin race's 21 joint attack formations had been destroyed by Lu Ming and Bubble. The other Fiend Yin race members were so frightened that they continued to set up their formations as though they were facing a great enemy. Damn it. Lu Ming, get out here. Get out here if you can and fight fair and square. Gaishak kept roaring. However, Lu Ming couldn't be bothered with him. Fight fair and square? Wasn't it laughable that the other party had used their joint attack formations to surround him and fight fair and square? How comfortable would it be to hide in the dark and launch a sneak attack? When the last 21 joint attack formation of the Fiend Yin race was destroyed, Lu Ming wouldn't be afraid no matter how many people there were. He now had a top-grade source-level divine weapon armor. Unless they were at the same level as him, it would be very difficult to break through his defense. No matter how many people there were, it would be useless. After roaring for a while, Gaishak seemed to know that Lu Ming wouldn't show up. He had no choice but to give up. "Go, let's leave this place first." Gaishak roared and retreated in another direction with his men. He had no choice. No matter how unwilling he was, he could only leave first. If he continued to stay here, his joint attack formations would be destroyed by Lu Ming. Lu Ming was too difficult to deal with when combined with the power of time and space. I must find a chance to kill this Lu Ming. Otherwise, the threat is too great. Gaishak kept roaring in his heart. Thinking of leaving? How decisive. Lu Ming's eyes flashed and he quickly followed with bubbles. However, the Fiend Yin race had been retreating in formation. Lu Ming didn't find a chance to attack. Of course, he could kill those Fiend Yin race members who couldn't form formations. However, it wouldn't be effective to kill more or less of these Fiend Yin race members. Instead, he would expose himself. It wasn't worth it. That is, after following for a while, Lu Ming's eyes suddenly narrowed. That was because there were many figures rushing in their direction. Fiend Yin Qi filled the air. They were also Fiend Yin race members and there were a shocking number of them. There were almost 2,000 of them. There are so many Fiend Yin race members. It seems that many of them have awakened during this period. Lu Ming muttered with a grave expression. Chapter 49:12. Be careful, Infernal Fiend King. There's someone beside Lu Ming who's proficient in the power of space-time. They're working together to launch sneak attacks. Be careful, he might break your combined attack formation. Gaishak shouted. Among the baleful Yin beings behind him, there was a baleful Yin being who looked to be in his 30s. His aura was the most terrifying. He was Infernal Fiend King. Set up the formation. Infernal Fiend King immediately ordered. The baleful Yin beings under him immediately began to set up the formation. There were 2 combined attack formations of 21 people and some other combined attack formations. They formed baleful Yin ghost kings that patrolled the area. Gaishak, looks like you've suffered a great loss. Infernal Fiend King said. He stood in the air and looked around. His powerful baleful Yin Qi seeped into the void like a spider web to capture Lu Ming's movements. Another terrifying expert. Lu Ming's expression was grave. This Infernal Fiend King was definitely in existence at the same level as Gaishak. The strength of the creatures in the Forbidden Lands was truly terrifying. Not only did they have many combined attack formations, but they also had a shocking number of terrifying experts. In the era where the origin did not appear, their combat strength was far above the heavenly human tribe, quasi-saint tribe, evil demons, and heaven destroyer. After all, the creatures in the Forbidden Lands were already a Forbidden Lands in the last era of the Eldritch continent. Their foundation was too profound. Although the heavenly human tribe and evil demons were also from the last era, they were only slaves of the human tribe. Their foundation was far from comparable to the creatures in the Forbidden Lands. Brother Lu Ming, what do you plan to do now? Continue to attack? Bubbles asked. No. Lu Ming shook his head and said, there are 2 invincible almighty existences. In addition, there are more than 10 existences who are comparable to the former king's envoy. If we attack and get surrounded, it will be difficult for us to escape. 2 invincible divine masters were enough to threaten Lu Ming's life. Furthermore, there were more than a dozen existences comparable to the Guangqian royal envoy. Although it would be difficult for powerhouses of this level to cause any substantial harm to Lu Ming, the sheer number of them was enough to interfere with his movements. In other words, it was enough to keep him occupied. Once he was tied down and the 2 invincible divine masters attacked, Lu Ming would be in grave danger. Not to mention, there were so many joint attack formations. Let's observe them secretly and see where they're going. Lu Ming continued. After a while, they did not find any traces of Lu Ming. Gaishak and the Infernal Spirit King discussed for a while before leading a large group of baleful Een beings towards the original meridian. They set up camp around the meridians. Gaishak and Infernal Fiend King were guarding the two sides. If there were any unusual movements, they would be able to provide support in an instant and form a joint attack. This gave Lu Ming no chance to make a move. Rumble. At this moment, the meridian shook violently. The intensity of the tremors was far greater than before. A giant fissure appeared on the island and large amounts of seawater poured in. However, the seawater was flushed out by the heavenly paradise divine light from the depths of the meridian and evaporated into mist. With the tremors, large amounts of immortal crystals and immortal stones flew out. The baleful Een beings immediately attacked. There were nearly 4,000 of them, all of them above the Divine Master Realm. As they attacked together, baleful Een Chi spread and swept in all directions, taking away all the immortal crystals and immortal stones. Lu Ming even saw quite a number of divine herbs flying out. Most of them were main divine herbs. However, Lu Ming also saw a stalk of source-level divine herb. All of them fell into the hands of the evil Een clan. Lu Ming found it a pity, but now was not the time to act. At this moment, a commotion broke out among the baleful Een beings. It's a top-origin grade divine herb. Don't let it get away. Many baleful Een people roared. Their baleful Een Chi filled the air, forming many giant hands or interweaving into many giant nets, enveloping a certain area. Swish! A streak of light suddenly shot out of that area with astonishing speed. A top-origin grade divine herb. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and he immediately looked in that direction. A divine herb in the shape of a lingji mushroom with roots like feet shot into the distance like a streak of light. It really is a top-origin grade divine herb. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Clearly, this top-origin grade divine herb had rushed out from the depths of the meridian. I can't miss it. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. A origin grade divine herb of this level was absolutely precious. A peak divine master could use it to break through to the reciprocity realm. Lu Ming's group had obtained one from the meridian with the 4 statues. That top origin grade divine herb had pretended to be a heavenly paradise divine beast and scared off the Yi Immortal. In the end, it had fallen into Lu Ming's hands and was now not obediently staying in the primitive ring. In that Qi meridian, Lu Ming only discovered one stalk of source-level divine medicine of this level. It was very likely that there was only one origin grade divine herb in the entire meridian. The origin grade divine herb of this level was no different from a living being. It could even cultivate on its own and complete its evolution. Even 100 ordinary origin grade divine herbs wouldn't be able to give birth to a origin grade divine herb of this level. The baleful Een beings were extremely tempted by such a top origin grade divine herb and they all chased after it. Gaishak and the Infernal Fiend King were the fastest as they chased after the top origin grade divine herb. They released a large amount of baleful Een Chi to surround it. However, the speed of a origin grade divine herb of this level was extremely shocking. Back in the origin grade divine mountain, they had discovered a few origin grade divine herbs, but whether it was the quasi-immortal tribe, the heavenly human tribe, or Lu Ming's group, none of them had been able to catch them. The previous origin grade divine herb was careless and had transformed into a heavenly abode, thinking that it had scared Lu Ming and the others. In the end, it had approached the Chaos Ring and was captured by Lu Ming, Dandan, and Bubbles. The origin grade divine herb, which looked like a Ganoderma lucidum, flashed a few times and shuttled through the void, avoiding Gaishak and the Infernal Fiend King's attacks as it rapidly moved forward. Everyone, get into formation and be on guard. The king of the evil ectoplasm shouted. His body did not stop as he chased after the top origin grade divine herb. The other baleful Een beings got into formation. Even at this time, they were still worried about Lu Ming's sneak attack and were on guard. Initially, Lu Ming really had this intention. He wanted to take the opportunity to destroy the other party's joint attack array. However, upon seeing this, he knew that there was no chance. Hence, he did not make a move. Instead, he chased in the direction where the top-notch source-level divine medicine had escaped. Gaishak and the infernal fiend king chased after it. The baleful Yin beings were known for their speed. No matter how fast the origin-grade divine herb was, it couldn't shake them off. At this rate, they would catch up to it sooner or later. Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he pondered over how to snatch the origin-grade divine herb from Gaishak and the infernal fiend king. Just like that, he crossed a large distance in the blink of an eye. It's the primordial light race. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes flickered. A large number of figures appeared in front of him. Their hair was fluttering in the wind. Who else could it be but the primordial light race? Chapter 49:13. Lu Ming and the others, who had been chasing after the top-notch source-grade divine medicine for a long time, seemed to have reached the vicinity of another meridian and encountered a large number of primordial light tribe members. Lu Ming glanced over and realized that there were at least 3,000 primordial light tribe members. The total number of people that Yuan Baji and Yuan Jiuji had brought with them had only been a few hundred. Furthermore, Lu Ming immediately saw that Yuan Baji and Yuan Jiuji were among this group of people. However, the two of them were standing respectfully beside the other two youths. They no longer had the arrogant aura that they had used to have. Who's there? It's a top-notch source-grade divine medicine. The members of the primordial light tribe also noticed the top-notch source-grade sacred medicine immediately. Their eyes were burning with passion. A top-notch source-grade divine medicine was priceless and couldn't be measured by immortal stones. Fifth brother, sixth brother, it's the malevolent Yin tribe. Yuan Jiuji, who was in the primordial light tribe, said softly. Who cares who it is? It's a top-notch source-grade divine medicine. Since we have encountered it, we can't miss it. Attack and surround the divine medicine. A young primordial light tribe member shouted. His voice reverberated throughout the area. This person was Yuan Jiuji and Yuan Baji's fifth brother. His name was Yuan Wuji. Following Yuan Wuji's order, all the members of the primordial light tribe made their move. Countless beams of light shot out from their heads and rapidly grew in length. They intertwined in the air and formed an inescapable net that enveloped the top-grade source-grade divine medicine. The source-grade divine medicine immediately changed direction and rushed in another direction. However, a large number of beams of light also appeared in that direction. More than 3,000 primordial light tribe members made their move together, and the beams of light covered a large area. No matter which direction the source-grade divine medicine rushed in, it was useless. This source-grade divine medicine belongs to the malevolent Yin tribe. Get out of my way, primordial light tribe members. Gaishak shouted as he waved his black banner. 9 malevolent evil spirits rushed towards the primordial light tribe members in an attempt to break the inescapable net formed by the beams of light. At the same time, Infernal Fiend Lord also made his move, unleashing a terrifying attack. But at that moment, 2 silhouettes appeared in front of Mr. Evil Ectoplasm and Mr. Evil Ectoplasm. Their bodies were like rays of light. They continuously released a dozen rays of light which blocked Mr. Evil Ectoplasm and Mr. Evil Ectoplasm's attacks. One was Yuan Wuji, and the other was Yuan Liuji. The primordial light tribe had 9 great princes, each more powerful than the last. Every one of them was a stunning genius. Relatively speaking, the 3 people after the 7th, 8th, and 9th were the least talented. Since the source-grade elixir has come to us, it's ours. Please leave, said Yifutin. Yuan Wuji sneered. Bullshit. Yuan Wuji, get out of my way. Gaishak roared as he continuously waved the black banner and launched terrifying attacks. However, they were all blocked by Yuan Wuji. On the other side, Infernal Fiend King was also blocked by Yuan Liuji. This is not good. If this continues, the source-grade sacred medicine will fall into the hands of the primordial light tribe. Lu Ming's face darkened. He didn't want to see the source-grade sacred medicine fall into the hands of either side. Lu Ming and Bubbles silently appeared not far from the inescapable net. Then, they executed the sky-breaking form and stabbed their spear with all their might. A huge spear radiance burst forth and pierced the intertwining light strands. Rumble! The light strands trembled violently before exploding one after another. In the end, a huge gap was created. We're in the wrong direction. Through the gap, Lu Ming could see that the source-grade sacred medicine was in another direction. It was still quite far away, so it was too late for him to seize the opportunity to rush out of the gap. Only by creating a gap near the source-grade sacred medicine could the source-grade sacred medicine take the opportunity to rush out. However, Lu Ming's move was discovered by the primordial light tribe. "It's Lu Ming! Damn it! Set up the array and kill him!" Yuan Baji and Yuan Jiuji shouted angrily. Suddenly, the primordial light tribe's figures flashed and two 21 people combined attack arrays were set up. A saber and a sword slashed toward Lu Ming. The bubble enveloped Lu Ming with the power of time and space. In a flash, they were far away. They avoided the two combined attack arrays and appeared on the other side. They weren't far from the source-grade sacred medicine on the other side. Boom! Lu Ming thrusted his spear again, piercing the defensive wall that was intertwined with light beams and hair, piercing a big hole in this area. The source-grade sacred medicine inside seized the opportunity and rushed out. "Bubbles, do it!" Lu Ming shouted. This was the best time to make a move. He would let Bubbles use the power of time and space to take the source-grade sacred medicine. "Leave it to me." "Oh no, be careful!" Bubbles suddenly shouted. A saber and a sword slashed toward Lu Ming from both sides with terrifying power. It was the 21 people combined attack array of the primordial light tribe. The combined attack array of the primordial light tribe's combined attack array was very powerful and fast. This had something to do with the special attributes of the primordial light tribe. The sword chi and saber radiance surged, making it difficult for Bubbles' power of time and space to reach the source-grade sacred medicine. The source-grade sacred medicine took the opportunity to rush into the distance. Lu Ming, on the other hand, used the primeval style and the heaven-breaking style to block the combined attack of the saber and sword. "Let's go!" Lu Ming bellowed. Seizing the opportunity, Bubbles brought Lu Ming along and disappeared in a flash. They appeared thousands of miles away and dashed toward the stalk of source-level divine herb. After them. "That's Lu Ming." Gaishak, Yuan Wuji and the others roared and stopped fighting. They rushed toward Lu Ming and the source-grade sacred medicine. Lu Ming pushed his speed to the limit. With Bubbles' help, his speed was even faster than Gaishak and the others. He even surpassed the source-grade sacred medicine. He was getting closer and closer to the source-grade sacred medicine. It wouldn't take long for him to catch up. Right at this moment, a sudden change occurred. In front of the source-grade divine herb, a light barrier suddenly appeared and enveloped the source-grade divine herb. This light shield was as big as a bowl. It was transparent and huge. It suddenly appeared in front of the source-grade sacred medicine and it was too late for it to dodge. With a clang, the source-grade sacred medicine was enveloped by the light shield. The source-grade sacred medicine crashed into the light shield, but it didn't budge. Although the source-grade sacred medicine's speed was very fast, its offensive power was very ordinary. It wasn't proportional to its speed at all. After the light shield enveloped the source-grade sacred medicine, it trembled slightly and tried to fly away. Bubbles used the power of time and space to control the light shield, but the light shield shook and broke the power of time and space. Boom! Lu Ming struck out with his palm. A huge palm formed and pressed down on the light shield like a mountain, suppressing it and making it difficult for it to fly away. In the next moment, a figure appeared above the light shield. Ye Immortal! Chapter 49:14. Ye Immortal appeared above the light barrier. It was obvious that the light barrier had been created by Ye Immortal. No one knew if Ye Immortal was right in front of them, or if he had been hiding in the dark, waiting for an opportunity to strike. Upon seeing Ye Immortal, Lu Ming thrust out his spear without hesitation. Swish! An incomparably sharp spear light pierced through the void and pierced towards Ye Wuxia. Its speed was shockingly fast. Ye Immortal had no choice but to block the attack. He slashed out with his sword, and a star appeared in the air. When it collided with the spear light, it exploded, creating a destructive force. Lu Ming's spear light was blocked. The battle god's spear buzzed, and Ye Immortal's figure was jolted back several steps. Lu Ming stepped into the air and charged towards Ye Immortal. He thrust out his palm, and a continent was formed. Sword of the heavens, destruction of the sun. Yi Immortal continued to execute his Genesis technique. A great sun appeared, and endless sword light appeared. It pierced through the air and resisted Lu Ming's desolation style. Not only that, but many sword lights pierced towards Lu Ming and Bubbles. Bubbles, enter the desolation ring first. Lu Ming activated the desolation ring, and Bubbles' figure disappeared into the desolation ring in a flash. Although Bubble had reached the 9th tier Divine Master realm and was much stronger than before, there was still a huge gap between it and an existence like Yi Wuxia. In the face of Yi Wuxia's attack, it could not block it at all. Lu Ming had to split his attention to protect it. Lu Ming had to go all out against an expert of the same level as Yi Immortal. He couldn't afford to be distracted. Hence, letting Bubbles enter the Desolation Ring was the best choice. After Bubbles entered the Desolation Ring, Lu Ming went all out and exchanged a few blows with Yi Immortal. Gaishak, the Infernal Fiend King, and Yuan Lu Jioji were about to arrive. Lu Ming and Yi Immortal were getting a little anxious. By the time those people arrived, Lu Ming and Yi Immortal would not be able to get their hands on the source-grade elixir. At this moment, Yi Immortal suddenly shouted, "Lu Ming, don't you want your friend's head anymore?" As soon as he said those words, he waved his hand, and the dozen or so heads flew into the distance. At the same time, there were more than 10 streams of energy attacking the heads. If they were hit, it was obvious that these heads would definitely explode. It's them. At the sight of the dozen heads, Lu Ming's heart trembled wildly. Lu Ming recognized the dozen or so heads. They were clearly the dozen or so experts from the Heaven Exterminating Army. Some of them were even very familiar with Lu Ming. Previously, when Lu Ming and Heaven Destroyer parted ways, these people were clearly still alive. There was only one explanation. After Lu Ming and the others left, Heaven Destroyer's people encountered Yi Immortal. Given Yi Immortal's combat strength, encountering Heaven Destroyer, there was no time to think. Lu Ming dashed out and dashed toward the dozen heads. At the same time, he waved the War God Spear and pierced out more than a dozen spear gleams, crushing the force of Yi Wuxia's attack. Thereafter, the taboo force swirled and he grabbed the dozen heads in his hands. It was real. It was not an illusion. This meant that Heaven Destroyer had really encountered Yi Immortal. After luring Lu Ming away with the dozen or so heads, Yi Immortal grabbed the light shield with all his might. The light shield quickly shrank and was put away by Yi Immortal, including the source-level elixir inside. After putting away the source-level elixir, Yi Immortal did not continue to attack. Instead, he quickly retreated. "Yi Immortal, don't go!" Lu Ming roared and quickly chased after him. "Lu Ming, if I were you, I would leave this place and collect the corpses of Heaven Destroyer's people." Yi Immortal sneered. Lu Ming's expression turned ugly. His heart kept sinking. Could it be that Yi Immortal had really eliminated Heaven Destroyer's people? Sush. Several terrifying attacks came from behind Lu Ming. They were Gaishak, Lord of the Underworld, Yuan Wuji, Yuan Liuji, and the others. As soon as they got close, they immediately attacked. Regardless of whether Lu Ming had the source-level elixir or not, Lu Ming was still on their kill list. They would attack Lu Ming the moment they saw him. The 4 people behind were all terrifying experts. They were invincible divine masters and were at the same level as Lu Ming. When the 4 of them attacked together, Lu Ming did not dare to be careless even though he was some distance away. He could only defend with all his might. Boom, boom, boom. After a series of explosions, Lu Ming's body shook violently and he was sent flying. Even with the protection of the top-grade source-level elixir, Lu Ming felt the blood in his body churning. "Leave Lu Ming to me. You go after the source-level elixir," Yuan Wuji said to Yuan Liuji. Yuan Liuji nodded and chased after Yi Immortal. As for Yuan Wuji, he continued to attack Lu Ming. Gaishak and Lord of the Underworld looked at each other. Then, Lord of the Underworld continued to chase after Yi Immortal while Gaishak went after Lu Ming. Lu Ming had killed many of Gaishak's subordinates and destroyed the 2 21-man combined attack arrays. Gaishak wanted to kill Lu Ming very badly. As long as he killed Lu Ming, he could take back the combined attack array carrier that Lu Ming had. His 21-man combined attack array could be perfected. That was why he gave up on Yi Immortal and attacked Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not continue to fight. Instead, he used his movement technique and retreated in another direction. Lu Ming knew that it would be too difficult to take the source-level elixir from Yi Immortal. Moreover, his mind was filled with the Heaven Destroyer. It was certain that the Heaven Destroyer had encountered the Yi Immortal, but what had happened? Had Lion, Tang Jian, Gu Changfeng, and the others also died at the hands of Yi Immortal? Lu Ming was in no mood to continue fighting. He only wanted to shake off Yuan Wuji and Lord of the Underworld so that he could investigate the Heaven Destroyer's situation. However, it was not that easy to shake off two people of the same level. In the end, Lu Ming took a blow from the Nether Spirit King head-on. With the help of the blow, he flew out of the encirclement of the Nether Spirit King and Yuan Wuji. However, Lu Ming also paid a price. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and was severely injured. After all, it was difficult to block all the attacks of an invincible almighty even with a top-notch source-level weapon. However, things were easier now that he had broken out of the encirclement. Bubbles appeared from the Chaos Ring in time and enveloped Lu Ming with her space-time power. Lu Ming's speed increased tremendously and he surpassed Yuan Wuji and Lord of the Underworld. After a while, Lu Ming successfully shook off Yuan Wuji and Lord of the Underworld and arrived at a more remote place. Lu Ming and Bubbles entered the Chaos Ring and told them about the Heaven Destroyer's possible encounter with the Yi Immortal. How did this happen? Tang Jun's face was pale. Among them, Tang Jun was the one who had the deepest relationship with the Heaven Destroyer. Although Xian Yanqing was also a reincarnation, his memory and personality were mainly Xian Yanqing's. Although they had the same memories, they were still different from Tang Jun in terms of emotions. Don't panic. What Yi Wuxiao said might not be true. Maybe he did encounter it and some of them died, but not all of them died. Maybe Yi Wuxiao only killed 10 or so people. Gu Mo comforted him. Chapter 49:15. Although Gu Mo's words made sense, everyone's hearts were still heavy. Yi Immortal's combat strength was too strong. He was already at the level of an invincible divine master. Even the strongest Lord of Heaven would not be able to withstand a single blow from him. Although Heaven Destroyer and evil demons had the advantage in numbers, their top experts were not in their best condition. For example, Gu Changfeng had yet to recover from his serious injuries. As for Zixian, she had encountered difficulties in fusing with the ancestral demon blood crystal. She did not know what would happen to her. Furthermore, they lacked a joint attack array. Against Yi Immortal, they would not stand a chance. Let's hurry back and find out what the situation is like. Lu Ming said. That's right. There's no time to lose. Let's set off immediately. Tang Jun said. Wait a minute. I don't think there's a need for all of us to rush back. Gumo said. What do you mean? Tang Jun looked at Gumo. Heaven Destroyer has encountered Yi Immortal. It's useless even if we rush back now. Our purpose of rushing back is to confirm their safety. In that case, we don't need so many people to go back. We only need one person to go back and check on the situation. Gumo said. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He agreed with Gumo's suggestion. The Purple Firmament Immortal Kingdom had reached a critical juncture. The 9 meridians could collapse at any time. The ancient city's array formation could also collapse at any time. Once they missed it, they would miss out on a heaven-defying opportunity. Most importantly, it would be useless even if they all rushed back. What had happened could not be changed. How about this? I'll rush back and check on them. With my speed, I can come back quickly. Bubbles said. All right, let's do that. Bubbles, you have to be careful. In the end, Lu Ming nodded. Bubbles controlled the power of time and space. In terms of speed, no one present was faster than her. Moreover, with the power of time and space, her life-saving ability was unparalleled. Even if she encountered a strong enemy, she could easily retreat. It could be said that no one present was more suitable than Bubbles. Then I'll take my leave. As soon as Bubbles' voice rang out, her figure vanished without a trace. We just have to wait for news nearby. I believe that they are blessed by the heavens and will be fine. Lu Ming comforted everyone. Then, they left the place and came to the vicinity of another meridian. There were 9 meridians below the island. It was impossible for the creatures of the Forbidden Lands to occupy all of them. There were only a few creatures of the Forbidden Lands in this meridian, and they were from the Blue Sea clan. Lu Ming and the others didn't make a move to avoid unnecessary trouble. Instead, they set up a concealment array formation nearby and waited. Truth be told, the heavenly abode light that rushed out of the 9 meridians was no longer very dense. If Lu Ming and the others relied on the armor refined by Dandan and Bubbles, they should be able to charge in if they were careful. But they didn't dare, because he was afraid of the Grotto Heaven Beast in his meridians. Even though they speculated that the ancient city's formation was constantly absorbing the energy and paradise divine light from the 9 meridians, it should be very difficult for the meridians to condense a paradise divine beast. However, they didn't have the confidence. They couldn't be sure. What if there was a paradise divine beast in the meridians? If that happened, they would all be wiped out. Just in case, it was better to wait. The creatures of the Forbidden Lands were the same. Those top elites didn't dare to go in. They continued to wait. What Lu Ming and the others didn't know was that a storm was brewing on the island. The initiator of this storm was the Yuanguang clan. The leaders of the Yuanguang clan, Yuanguang Wuji, Yuanguang Liuji, Yuanguang Qiji, Yuanguang Baji, and Yuanguang Jiuji sent a message to the Blue Sea clan and the Baleful Yin clan at the same time, inviting them to discuss something important. Near a certain meridian, the elites of the Yuanguang clan, the Baleful Yin clan, and the Blue Sea clan gathered at the same time. Yuanguang Wuji, Yuanguang Liuji, you said you wanted to discuss something important. Can you tell me what it is now? Gaishak asked from the Baleful Yin clan. He looked at Yuanguang Wuji, Yuanguang Liuji, and Yuanguang Liuji with a fierce look. Not long ago, Yuanguang Liuji and Yuanguang Liuji had competed with them for the top source-level divine medicine. If they hadn't competed, the other sects wouldn't have failed, and the source-level divine medicine wouldn't have fallen into the hands of the Immortal. It would be strange if Gaishak's expression were good. Beside Gaishak, the infernal fiend lord's expression wasn't good either. On the other side were the people of the Blue Sea clan. The leaders of the Blue Sea clan were also very young. There were 2 young men and a young woman. The 3 of them were the princes and princesses of the Blue Sea clan. They looked at the Yuanguang clan and the Baleful Yin clan with interest, as if they couldn't wait for the 2 clans to fight. I've gathered all of you here to kill someone, Yuanguang Liuji said coldly. Ah! When Gaishak heard this, he immediately burst into laughter. He laughed so hard that tears almost came out of his eyes. Kill someone? You want to gather all 3 clans together? Yuan Liuji, you're too ridiculous. Gaishak laughed. I'm curious. Who is the person you want to kill? A young man from the Blue Sea clan looked at Yuanguang Liuji and asked. This person was a prince of the Blue Sea clan. He was known as Prince Kanglo. Lu Ming. Yuanguang Liuji's cold voice sounded. Gaishak's laughter stopped abruptly. His face turned gloomy. Lu Ming is a member of the Heaven Destroyer. However, he's extremely talented. He's only a 9th-tier Divine Master, but he already has the combat strength of an invincible Divine Master. Once he reaches the peak Divine Master level, none of us will be a match for him. When he breaks through to the Source Realm, he'll become even stronger. He'll be a threat to our clans. Yuanguang Liuji continued. I agree. Lu Ming must be eliminated to prevent him from becoming a threat. Gaishak nodded. He agreed with Yuanguang Liuji on this point. A 9th-tier Divine Master with the combat strength of an invincible Divine Master? How's that possible? What's his background? The calmness on Prince Kanglo's face disappeared. It was replaced by shock. I heard that he has some forbidden body that controls forbidden power. However, I've never heard of any forbidden body or forbidden power. Yuanguang Liuji shook his head. Gaishak, Infernal Fiend King, and the others were also puzzled by this point. This was because they had never heard of any forbidden body or forbidden power in the primitive continent of the last epoch. Prince Tsongluo's face was also filled with confusion. Of course we have to get rid of Lu Ming. But how do we do that? This person is extremely cunning. Once he hides, it'll be very difficult to find him. Moreover, he has an expert who controls the power of spacetime by his side. If they work together, they'll be very difficult to deal with. We'll need 3 invincible divine masters to deal with him at the same time. We can only split into 2 groups. How are we going to find him? Infernal Fiend King asked. Yuanguang Liuji and Yuanguang Liuji also looked pensive. Indeed, how were they going to find Lu Ming? If Lu Ming didn't appear, no matter how many experts they had, they wouldn't be able to do anything to Lu Ming. I have an idea. At this moment, a clear voice came from the void in the distance. Chapter 49:16. A figure appeared in the air. His white robe fluttered in the wind, and he had an extraordinary aura. His eyes were filled with vicissitudes. Ye Immortal! It was the Ye Immortal. Boom, boom, boom. Instantly, terrifying auras erupted. Yuan Wuji, Yuan Liuji, Gaishak, Infernal Spirit Lord, and the others released terrifying energy and killing intent. Their auras locked onto the Ye Immortal. Only the people from the Blue Sea tribe remained calm. Ye Immortal, how dare you come here alone? You must be tired of living. Gaishak shouted with a ferocious look on his face. He was ready to attack at any time. I'm not here to fight with you. I'm here to discuss a partnership. Yi Wuchang said indifferently, his face calm. Discuss a partnership? Hand over the top-grade source-level divine herb and kneel down to admit your mistakes. We can talk about a partnership later. Gaishak said with a ferocious look on his face. I have a way to lure Lu Ming out. If you want to kill Lu Ming, then work with me. If you don't want to kill him, then attack. You may not be able to keep me here. Ye Immortal stopped in the distance and did not approach. He seemed to be prepared to retreat at any time. Do you really have a way to lure Lu Ming out? And why should we trust you? Infernal Spirit Lord asked. He was much calmer than Gaishak. I wouldn't have come if I didn't have a way. Yi Wuchen smiled and continued. The last question is because Lu Ming has a taboo body. A taboo body is a huge scourge to both of you and me. It's not only to us, but also to those above the origin. It's a huge scourge. Haha, that's an exaggeration. How could a taboo power that I've never heard of be so powerful? It's the Great Tribulation of the Source. If it wasn't for the Great Tribulation of the Source, the experts of my tribe could easily suppress Lu Ming with one hand. Gaishak sneered disdainfully. That's because you don't know the origin of the forbidden body. Let me tell you. The forbidden body controls the forbidden body, which is the power of the universe. Ye Immortal said. What? The power of the universe? Gaishak, Infernal Spirit Lord, Yuan Wuji, Yuan Liuji, and even Prince Kanglo were all shocked. Their faces were filled with disbelief. Yes, the power of the universe. The forbidden body of the universe has its own will. The power of the universe itself, under normal circumstances. It would cause great harm to the universe. However, the universe is the power of the universe itself is the power of the universe. The power of the taboo is, in fact, the power of the universe. The 3 clans and the heavenly human clan are not from the universe. You will be suppressed by this universe. The stronger the power of the universe, the greater the suppression on us. Now, do you know why I said that Lu Ming is a huge scourge? Yi Wuxian explained. So that's how it is. The taboo energy is actually the energy of the universe. It can't be left alive. It must be eliminated, Yuan Wuji whispered. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. That's right. If we want to achieve our goals, we must eliminate the power of the universe. Infernal Spirit Lord also said. Indeed, this person must be eliminated. Prince Kanglo also said. So, Lu Ming is our common enemy. Our goal is the same. What's wrong with us working together? Ye Immortal said. Of course we can work together. Why don't you tell me how you can lure Lu Ming out? Yuan Wuji said. When I met Lu Ming earlier, I threw a dozen heads at him. They were all Heaven Destroyer's men. Lu Ming must be very eager to know what happened to the Heaven Destroyer's men. I think he must be very eager to find me now. Now, I just need to send a message to the entire island and challenge Lu Ming to a battle. If he wants to know what happened to the Heaven Destroyer's men, he can only agree to fight me. Ye Immortal said. The eyes of the others lit up. Then we can work together to kill Lu Ming at the place you agreed to fight. Infernal Spirit Lord added. That's not enough. Yi Wuchang shook his head and said, anyone who can obtain the power of the universe is a person with great luck. This kind of person has great luck and is extremely difficult to kill. Therefore, in order to ensure that nothing goes wrong, it's best to set up an origin level array. I believe that with the foundation of your race, it shouldn't be difficult to set up a simple origin level array. My race has brought some bones of origin realm experts. It won't be difficult to set up a simple source level formation with the bones of origin realm experts as the foundation. It'll just take time. Yuan Wuji said. My race also has some bones of origin realm experts. If we work together, the speed of setting up the formation will increase greatly. My race can help too. The Infernal Spirit Lord and Prince Kanglo said one after another. Alright, then let's decide on the location, Immortal said. Immediately, they began to discuss the specific details. It had been 3 days since Bubble left. Lu Ming and the others hid in the concealment formation and cultivated in peace. Lu Ming, suddenly, a voice rang out from the sky. It was like a thunderclap that spread out in all directions. That's Immortal's voice. Lu Ming and the others narrowed their eyes and could not help but look at the sky. With Lu Ming and the others' eyesight, they could see millions of kilometers away if there were no obstructions. As a result, they saw a figure hovering in the sky. It was Yi Immortal. Lu Ming, I know you can hear me. Yi Immortal continued to speak. With Yi Immortal's cultivation, his voice could be heard from every corner of the island. Don't you want to know the fate of the other members of the Heaven Exterminating Troop? I'll give you a chance. 300,000 miles northeast of the ancient city, let's fight. If you can defeat me, I'll tell you about the Heaven Exterminating Troop. Remember, the time is 3 days later. After Yi Wuxia finished speaking, his figure flashed and disappeared from the high altitude. Yi Immortal actually challenged Lu Ming. This is strange. I'm afraid it's a trap. Xian Yanqing said solemnly. Yi Immortal seems to have come to this island alone. What tricks can he play? Dandan said. I'm afraid he's working with the creatures of the Forbidden Grounds. Xian Yanqing was still worried. Yi Immortal stole the top source-level divine medicine of the creatures of the Forbidden Grounds. They have a grudge against each other. How can they work together? Dandan disagreed. This is too strange. We have to be careful, Guemo said and then looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming, what do you think? We have to go. But we have to be prepared. Dandan, we'll need your help again. Lu Ming said. He explained his plan and started to make arrangements. 3 days later, Lu Ming set off alone and headed 300,000 kilometers northeast of the ancient city. Lu Ming knew that there was a huge mountain there. It was the location of the battle. However, Lu Ming was blocked by someone before he could reach the mountain. It was someone from the Sea tribe. Chapter 49:17. She was from the Blue Sea race and she was a woman. This woman was a little different from the other members of the Blue Sea tribe. The other members of the Blue Sea tribe had large amounts of scales on their faces, but this woman only had a few purple scales between her eyebrows. Her divine skin was curvaceous, and her appearance was peerless. With the addition of the scales, she looked even more charming. Lu Ming stopped. The battle god's spear appeared in his hand and a powerful aura surged from his body. Lu Ming, don't be nervous. I'm not here to be your enemy. You should have noticed that I'm the only one nearby. If I were your enemy, I wouldn't have come alone. The woman from the Blue Sea race smiled. Then why are you blocking my way? Lu Ming said coldly. I'm saving your life. The young woman from the Blue Sea race said. Saving my life? Ha, that's funny. The Blue Sea race can't wait to tear me to pieces. Lu Ming sneered. The others are the others, and I am me. Let me introduce myself. My name is Blue Sea Race. Everyone calls me Princess Zhang Xian. The young woman said. This woman was one of the 3 young leaders of the Blue Sea Race. In terms of status, she wasn't below Prince Kanglo and had also participated in the 3 race meeting. Why should I believe you? Lu Ming said in a low voice. I can tell you something. The battle between the Yi Immortal and you is just a trap. In fact, The Yi Immortal has already cooperated with the Primordial Light race, the Baleful Een race, and the Blue Sea race. They have set up a source-level formation at the location of the battle with the origin source skeleton. Once you go there, you'll be trapped in the source-level formation. With your current cultivation, you'll definitely die if you step into the source-level formation. Princess Tsong Xian said. The Yi Immortal has cooperated with the creatures of the 3 Great Forbidden Lands? Lu Ming's expression changed and he found it hard to believe. The Yi Immortal had just taken the top-grade source-level divine herb from the Primordial Light tribe and the Baleful Een tribe. Logically speaking, the Primordial Light tribe and the Baleful Een tribe would want nothing more than to kill the Yi Immortal. Why would they cooperate with him? Was there some inside story that he didn't know? There are a lot of things involved in this and I can't explain it all in a short time. However, their cooperation is absolutely true. Princess Tsong Xian said. Why are you telling me this? What's in it for you? Lu Ming said. Naturally, he would not believe Princess Tsong Xian so easily. Of course, I won't tell you this for free. If I want to cooperate with you, you have to promise me one thing. Princess Tsong Xian said. Just based on what you said just now, it doesn't seem like it's enough for me to agree to a condition of yours. Lu Ming said. Of course it's not enough. Let me tell you, the formation set up by the Bones of Reciprocity experts is extremely profound. It covers an extremely wide area. Even if you're prepared, it'll be very difficult for you to resist it. However, some of the origin energy bones in the formation were given to you by me. I have a way to interfere with the formation and stop it from operating. Is that enough? Princess Tsong Xian said. Oh, what condition do you want me to agree to? If it's too much, then we don't have to cooperate. Lu Ming said. He was going to the Yi Immortal to find out more about the Heaven Destroyer. However, the situation had changed. The Yi Immortal had cooperated with the creatures of the 3 Great Forbidden Lands and had even set up in source-level formation. His trip would be very dangerous. He could choose not to go and wait for Bubble to come back from her investigation. Of course, if the danger level was low, it was not impossible for him to go. For example, what Princess Tsong Xian said was true. She could really stop the source-level formation from operating. Don't worry. My condition is very simple. You only need to agree to help me once in the Purple Heaven Paradise. Princess Tsong Xian said. Help you once? That's fine. Lu Ming nodded. He only needed to help once. Once there was danger, he would retreat in time. Our cultivation hasn't reached reciprocity yet, so we're still bound by the oath of origin energy. How about we both swear on our life essences? Princess Tsong Xian said. Sure. Lu Ming nodded. Immediately, the two of them swore on their life essences. Only then did the two of them relax. Before leaving, Princess Tsong Xian revealed a meaningful smile. Why does this woman's smile give me a familiar feeling? It's like I've seen it before. Looking at Princess Tsong Xian's disappearing figure, Lu Ming frowned slightly. However, he was sure that this was the first time he had met Princess Tsong Xian. Why did he have such a feeling? Could it be that he had met too many beautiful women, and they all had the same feeling? Shaking his head, Lu Ming continued to head towards the location of the battle. Just as he was about to approach the location of the battle, Lu Ming's body suddenly glowed and emitted runes. Then, another Lu Ming separated from Lu Ming's body. This was the backup plan that Lu Ming had asked Dandan to set up, using a drop of Lu Ming's blood and a formation to refine a clone. Although it was not as strong as Lu Ming, it had the same presence as Lu Ming. Dandan had already used this method before. Lu Ming's formation clone continued to head towards the location of the battle, while Lu Ming's real body disappeared from the spot. Lu Ming flew into the sky, concealed his body, and headed towards the location of the battle. From afar, he saw a mountain peak. On top of the mountain peak, a figure stood in the air. It was Yi Immortal. The formation clone stepped towards the mountain peak. Yi Immortal, tell me, what happened to the people of Heaven Destroyer? The formation clone asked. Lu Ming, I didn't expect you to really come. Very well, I'll send you on your way to reunite with the people of Heaven Destroyer. Yi Immortal sneered and suddenly retreated rapidly. After Yi Immortal retreated, A terrifying presence suddenly erupted from the surroundings of the mountain peak. Then, pieces of bones flew out from the mountain peak. These bones were of different shapes. Some resembled arm bones, some resembled ribs, and some resembled leg bones. Every piece of bone was exuding a powerful origin energy. Countless runes filled the air, linking the power of these bones together to form a large formation. This large formation enveloped Lu Ming within it. "Ye Immortal, you asked me to fight. Is this what you call a battle?" Lu Ming's formation clone sneered. "You and I belong to two different forces. This is a battle between two forces, not a personal grudge. Lu Ming, be on your way." Ye Immortal shouted coldly and waved his hand. Suddenly, the formation was activated. A terrifying energy burst out and rushed towards Lu Ming's rune clone. With a bang, Lu Ming's rune doppelganger exploded and turned into a drop of blood. This drop of blood was completely annihilated under the terrifying energy. "It's a clone." Yi Wuxia's expression suddenly changed, becoming very gloomy. Previously, the aura of the formation clone was exactly the same as Lu Ming's aura. Yi Immortal couldn't tell at all. "We've been tricked. It's Lu Ming's clone. Lu Ming's real body must be nearby. Use all your strength to activate the origin level formation and envelop him." Yi Immortal shouted. Chapter 49:18. Yi Immortal shouted. Suddenly, several figures appeared around the mountain. These figures were from the Primordial Light tribe, the Baleful Een tribe, and the CC tribe. They were all experts from the three tribes who were proficient in array formations. There were more than a dozen of them in total. These experts kept forming hand seals and runes entered the origin source bones. The power of the origin source bones was constantly activated and combined with the array formation, turning into an even more terrifying force. The power of the array formation became even more terrifying. It swept out in all directions at an alarming speed. "Oh no!" Lu Ming, who was high up in the sky, turned pale. The power of the origin source array was beyond his imagination. Once it was activated, it would cover the sky and cover the earth. Lu Ming had already hidden far enough away, but the power of the array formation was still rapidly approaching him. Without any time to hesitate, Lu Ming's body flashed and he quickly retreated. Once he retreated, his body was naturally exposed. "Lu Ming, you are indeed nearby. Since you are here today, stay here forever," Ye Immortal said coldly. "Ye Immortal, you are really despicable. Your descendants have indeed inherited your genes." Lu Ming sneered as he increased his speed to the maximum. However, the array formation was spreading too quickly. Runes intertwined and were driven by a terrifying force. It was quickly approaching Lu Ming. Its speed was much faster than Lu Ming's. It seemed that Lu Ming was about to be enveloped by the array formation. Boom! Lu Ming suddenly waved his battle god spear and smashed it forward. The spear radiance was like a mountain as it bombarded the edge of the array formation. There was an earth-shattering boom as the battle god's spear vibrated violently. Lu Ming felt an invincible force from the battle god's spear hit him, and his body was sent flying. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. What a terrifying force! The might of an source-grade formation was truly terrifying. It was shockingly powerful. This array formation was set up by a dozen peak divine masters using their origin source bones. It was impossible for it to be a complete origin source array. Its power was definitely not complete. The power of an incomplete formation was already so terrifying. One had to know that this was only the periphery. If one were to be enveloped by it, the power would definitely be even greater. Lu Ming retreated, and the array formation continued to extend, wanting to envelop Lu Ming. "Let's fight." Lu Ming revealed a ruthless expression. A top-tier source-grade divine weapon armor appeared and enveloped his entire body. Since he could not dodge, he could only fight with his life on the line. He would use his own strength to take it head-on. If he really could not do it, he could only hide in the great desolate ring. However, at that moment, the source-grade formation's expansion suddenly stopped. A few of the source bones were trembling. The power within them was no longer spreading out, but was rapidly withdrawing back. What's going on? Why are these origin bones suddenly going out of control? Someone shouted. Is there still the remnant will of a reciprocity expert in the origin energy skeleton? That's very likely. Damn it, continue. The others roared. They didn't suspect that it was their own people who had tampered with it. They just thought that there was something wrong with the origin bone itself. After all, it was impossible for anyone from the 3 Forbidden Grounds to help Lu Ming. However, it was still useless. The array formation still could not be activated and stopped. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. It seemed that Princess Song Xian had made a move. Lu Ming quickly retreated, avoiding the source-grade formation. Lu Ming, don't go. Fight me. Yi Immortal shouted. He turned into a streak of sword light and rushed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming swept his gaze across the surroundings. His body did not stop and he continued to retreat. There was a cold smile at the corners of his lips. Do you want to win with numbers? Boom. As he retreated, Lu Ming struck out with his palm. A huge continent formed, covering an area of tens of thousands of miles. The larger the area, the less concentrated the power, and the weaker it would be. However, Lu Ming did not need it to be very powerful. He only needed it to cover a large area. Under the weight of the continent, a terrifying might pressed down, causing the void to explode out continuously. In the void below, one figure after another appeared. There were people from the Baleful Yin race, the Yuanguang race, and the Zhongming race. There were hundreds of them. These people had all set up a joint attack formation. There were 21 of them as the main attack formation, and there were a dozen others. Clearly, these joint attack formations were secretly lying in ambush here. Once Lu Ming was trapped in the formation, he would be in danger. Now, Lu Ming's desolation form had forced them all out. These joint attack formations chased after Lu Ming, trying to stop Lu Ming. Lu Ming retreated at lightning speed. His speed was much faster than that of the combined attack of the arrays. Even Yi Immortal surpassed the joint attack formations and chased after Lu Ming. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Just as Lu Ming was retreating, a sharp whistling sound came from behind him. Streaks of sword light pierced through the void and stabbed towards Lu Ming. Light beam hair. These streaks of sword light were the light beam hair of the Yuanguang race. They were densely packed, and there were thousands of them. Each of them was extremely powerful. Yuan Wuji or Yuan Liuji. Lu Ming knew that only Yuan Wuji or Yuan Liuji in the Yuanguang race had this kind of power. Sky-breaking form. Lu Ming shouted coldly. The divine battle spear vibrated continuously and shot out streaks of spear light. These spear lights were incomparably sharp. They pierced through the light beams and directly pierced through them. The strands of light continued to explode and turn into ashes. Lu Ming blasted a huge hole in the densely packed light beam hair. Lu Ming rushed through this hole. After rushing through this hole, a figure blocked Lu Ming's way. It was Yuan Wuji. Die! Lu Ming shouted. His body did not stop as he charged towards Yuan Wuji. His spear light was aimed at Yuan Wuji's glabella. I'd like to see how powerful you are. Yuan Wuji shouted coldly as a battle sword appeared on his body. His body exuded a dazzling glow as he became one with the sword and slashed towards Lu Ming. The shocking sword light pierced through the sky. It was extremely terrifying. Boom! The spear light and the sword light collided, causing an earth-shattering explosion. However, the stalemate between the two only lasted for a breath before the sword light trembled violently and exploded. A figure retreated rapidly. It was Yuan Wuji. Yuan Wuji retreated a few thousand miles before he could stabilize himself. His face was gloomy. So weak? No, he should still have a trump card that he hasn't used yet. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. If Yuan Wuji was only as strong as he had been, then he was too weak. He was far from being comparable to Gaishak. However, Yuan Wuji was an invincible divine master. Although the combat strength that Yuan Wuji had displayed was very strong and had surpassed the Guangqin royal envoy, it was definitely not at the level of an invincible divine master. An invincible divine master would definitely have more combat strength than this. Chapter 49-19. Very good, Lu Ming. You're really good. You're only a 9th level divine master, but you have such combat strength. I've underestimated you. Let me show you the power of the red celestial light. Yuan Wuji's body emitted a scarlet glow before he could finish his sentence. At the same time, a wave of extremely high heat emanated from his body. In the next moment, Lu Ming saw a ray of light emerge from Yuan Wuji's body. This ray of light was extremely red, even redder than blood. It was extremely hot. A terrifying pressure spread out from this ray of light. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes slightly. He instinctively felt a great threat from this ray of light. This ray of light was definitely not ordinary. According to Yuan Wuji, the red celestial light had the word celestial in it. Anything related to the word celestial could not be underestimated. The red celestial light appeared and spread out on the surface of Yuan Wuji's body. A wisp of it also merged with the battle sword in his hand. Yuan Wuji made his move. He turned into a red sword light and slashed at Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. The sword light emitted a terrifying heat. Wherever it passed, the void distorted and collapsed. It was completely annihilated. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed slightly. He could feel the terror of this sword. He did not dare to be careless. He circulated his forbidden power to the extreme and executed the sky-breaking style. Boom! The spear light and the sword light collided for the second time. A pillar of light burst out from where the two collided and shot into the sky. The spear light and the sword light shook continuously and collapsed. Two figures retreated continuously. It was Lu Ming and Yuan Wuji. This time, the two of them were evenly matched. This ray of light is so terrifying. It seems to contain endless energy and is filled with a vast heavenly might. It seems to be able to cut through everything. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. He could feel that the red celestial light contained endless energy. Yuan Wuji was far from unleashing the full power of the red celestial light. Once it was unleashed, its power would be unimaginable. Could this be the so-called light controller? A thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Luo Yunyang had interacted with the primordial light tribe many times. Back in the Purple Heaven Utopia, he had fought with the primordial light tribe continuously. Thus, he had long understood that the Guangqin royal envoy wasn't the strongest in the primordial light tribe. There was an even stronger entity above the Guangqin royal envoy. Every light controller was an invincible divine master when they reached the peak divine master level. As the name suggested, the Guangqin imperial envoy, the light controller, and the light controller, the imperial war envoys, were the envoys under the Guangqin imperial envoy. Regardless of whether it was the Light King's emissary or the war emissary, they were all subordinates of the light controller and obeyed his orders. In the past, when Lu Ming fought with Yuan Jiuji used a move called Destructive Immortal Light. However, that was not the real Destructive Immortal Light. Instead, it was condensed by a secret skill. It was worlds apart from the real Destructive Immortal Light. Again. I can't be bothered to entertain you. As soon as Lu Ming spoke, he transformed into an aurora and dashed in another direction. If Yuan Wuji had been alone, Lu Ming would have really wanted to fight him to the death. However, the Yi Immortal was chasing after him, and there were also those joint attack arrays. There were also many other experts hiding in the dark. Why would Lu Ming want to tangle with Yuan Wuji? You can't escape. Lu Ming had just flown a short distance when he heard a cold voice in front of him. Thereafter, a sinister aura soared into the sky like a tsunami, charging toward Lu Ming. It was Gaishek. He had blocked Lu Ming's path. Boom! Lu Ming cast the primeval style and struck out a piece of land in front of him. His figure swayed and he dashed out from another direction. However, another figure appeared in that direction. It was Yuan Liuji. Lu Ming's heart was heavy. It seemed that these top-notch experts had already surrounded him in all directions, blocking his escape route. Then I'll rush over. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as he rushed towards Yuan Liuji. He wanted to break through from Yuan Liuji's side. Black Moon Divine Light. Yuan Liuji's cold voice sounded as a beam of light appeared in his body. This beam of light was dark and also emitted a terrifying fluctuation. It wasn't any weaker than Yuan Liuji's red celestial light. With the Black Moon Divine Light, Yuan Liuji's combat strength reached the level of an invincible divine master. He exchanged a blow with Lu Ming and blocked Lu Ming's charging figure. At the same time, Immortal, Yuan Liuji, Gaishak and even Pluto Lord appeared from the other side and attacked Lu Ming. 5 invincible divine master experts attacked Lu Ming together. Their power was earth-shattering. On a mountain peak not far away, 2 young figures stood there. These 2 people were the 2 princes of the Zhongming race. They were peerless experts among the divine masters and were at the level of an invincible divine master. Prince Kanglo was one of them. Let's attack and take down Lu Ming in one fell swoop. Prince Kanglo said. My 2 brothers, please wait. Suddenly, a voice sounded. Then a slim figure appeared. This figure was none other than Princess Zhang Xian. Zhang Xian. The 2 princes of the Zhongming race looked at Princess Zhang Xian with burning eyes. The princes and princesses of the Zhongming race weren't siblings. In the Zhongming race, as long as they were of the younger generation and were extremely talented, they could be crowned as princes and princesses. In reality, they weren't related by blood. Even princes and princesses could marry each other. Princess Zhang Xian was a peerless beauty, so it was normal for Prince Kanglo and Prince Kanglo to covet her. My 2 brothers, why are you in such a hurry to attack? Isn't it better to let the other 2 races fight with Lu Ming while we sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight? Princess Zhang Xian said with a smile. But Lu Ming is indeed powerful. We can't leave him alive. We can only be at ease if we kill him. Moreover, he killed people from the Zhongming race before. Prince Kanglo said, My 2 brothers, do you think that Lu Ming can survive the joint attack of 5 invincible divine masters? Prince Zhang Xian continued to smile and said, But Lu Ming is indeed powerful. If he goes all out before he dies, it's not impossible for him to take 1 or 2 people down with him. Are you sure you want to take this risk? Prince Kanglo and Prince Kanglo pondered. They felt that Princess Zhang Xian's words made sense. Lu Ming was only a 9th-tier divine master, but he had the fighting strength of an invincible divine master. This was really shocking and terrifying. No one could see through such a person. Who knew if Lu Ming had other trump cards? If he went all out, it was possible for him to take 1 or 2 people of the same level down with him. Sister Zhang Xian is right. Then we'll sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Prince Kanglo said. The other prince naturally wouldn't attack. Get lost. Lu Ming pushed his fighting strength to the extreme, using the chaos form and the sky-breaking form consecutively to attack Yuan Liuji. Under Lu Ming's frenzied attacks, Yuan Liuji could not withstand it and began to retreat. Chapter 49-20. Crimson Immortal Light, Kill. On the other side, Yuan Wuji was the closest to Lu Ming. He was also the fastest. He turned into an immortal light and charged at Lu Ming. His power was so terrifying that Lu Ming could only brandish his spear to block it. With a loud boom, the 2 of them retreated at the same time. Although Lu Ming had blocked Yuan Wuji's attack, he had also been blocked. Yuan Liuji immediately launched an attack at Lu Ming. Crimson Immortal Light. Black Moon Immortal Light. 2 terrifying immortal lights shot toward Lu Ming one after the other. Lu Ming used all his strength to block them, but he still couldn't block them and was sent flying. His chest was swept by the crimson immortal light. He instantly felt an extremely hot and sharp force drilling into his body. Even though he was wearing a top-tier source-grade armor, he could still feel the terrifying force passing through the armor and hitting Lu Ming. Lu Ming's blood boiled and he almost spat out blood. Lu Ming, you will definitely die today. Kill. Turn into ashes. Yi Buxiu, the king of Spectre, and the king of Nether Spirits let out their murderous voices. 3 attacks were directed at Lu Ming from 3 different directions. Yuan Wuji and Yuan Liuji continued to use their immortal lights to attack Lu Ming. The 5 invincible divine lords launched a joint attack from 5 different directions. At this moment, the world lost its color and the void became chaotic. Lu Ming is dead for sure. At this moment, everyone who saw this scene couldn't help but think in their hearts. The joint attack of the 5 invincible divine lords was just too terrifying. Even origin realm existences wouldn't dare to face it head-on. Some weaker origin realm existences wouldn't even be able to withstand it. Although Lu Ming had a top-tier source-grade armor, it wasn't omnipotent. While top-notch soul-tier divine armors were profound and possessed astounding defensive capabilities, they still had to be activated before they could be used. With Lu Ming's cultivation base, he couldn't unleash much of the power of the top-tier soul-grade divine weapon armor. Without being able to unleash its full power, the defensive power of a top-tier soul-grade armor would be very limited. Lu Ming's pupils shrank sharply. Various thoughts flashed through his mind, but in the end he came to the conclusion that he couldn't stop it. Even if he gave it his all and used all his means, it would be impossible for him to block it. Even with Lu Ming's life force, he would be severely injured if he didn't die. At that time, he would become a fish on the chopping block. I can only hide in the desolate ring. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Now, the only way to avoid the attack was to enter the ancient desolation ring. Given the material of the Great Desolate Ring, blocking this attack was naturally not a problem. However, there was a drawback. Once he entered the ancient desolate ring would fall into his opponent's hands, and he would also be controlled by his opponent. But in this situation, there was no other way. He had been too careless this time. Lu Ming was keenly aware that he had been careless this time. The other reason was that Lu Ming had been too confident. During this period of time, Lu Ming's fighting strength had soared. First, he had comprehended the 3,000th ancient secret art, causing his forbidden energy to undergo a qualitative transformation. He had surpassed the Lord of the ancient divine court and his predecessors. Then, he had broken through to the 9th-level divine lord realm, causing his fighting strength to soar to the level of an invincible divine lord. In truth, Lu Ming had been a little overconfident and had become a little arrogant. He had believed that he was practically invincible under origin and that he could go anywhere he wanted in this vast world. Thus, even though Princess Zongxian had told him that the Yi Immortal had joined forces with the beings of the 3 Forbidden Lands, he had still come. He had originally believed that with his current strength and Princess Zongxian's help, he would have no problem escaping unscathed. In the end, it turned out that Lu Ming had miscalculated. Just as Lu Ming was about to enter the ancient desolate ring, something unexpected happened. Absolute demonic wall. A feminine cry was heard. Then the demonic qi in the void surged wildly. 2 tall walls suddenly appeared in front of Gaishak and Lord of the Underworld. The walls were completely made up of demonic qi. Boom, boom. Gaishak and Lord of the Underworld's attacks were blocked by the demonic wall. Although the demonic wall was eventually destroyed, their attacks also dissipated in the air. Bright Moon Gale Fist. At the same time as the demonic wall, a terrifying fist energy appeared. It directly pierced through the void and formed an earth-shattering power. It surged toward the Yi Immortal and blocked the Yi Immortal's attack. Lu Ming was invigorated. He used the ancient desolate form with his left hand and the heaven-breaking form with his right hand consecutively to block the attacks of Yuan Wuji and Yuan Liuji. Who is it? Gaishak roared as he looked up into the sky. 2 figures suddenly appeared high up in the sky. It was a man and a woman. Gu Changfeng and Zi Xian. Why are they here? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The man and woman in the sky were actually Gu Changfeng and Zi Xian. Gu Changfeng was still the same. His long robe fluttered in the wind and his aura was extraordinary. Zi Xian, on the other hand, had undergone a drastic change. There was a black mark between Zi Xian's eyebrows. The demonic qi in her body was extremely dense and exuded an aura of nobility. A pair of demonic wings extended from her back. Zi Xian was originally from the demonic demon royal family. She looked completely different from ordinary demons. She looked more like a human and did not have the demonic wings on her back. However, the demonic wings on Zi Xian's back were completely different from those of ordinary demons. The demonic wings on Zi Xian's back were dark purple and covered with ancient runes. They were ancient and mysterious. Most of Zi Xian's nobility came from the demonic wings. Just looking at the runes on the demonic wings made one feel an inexplicable sense of fear and pressure. It seems that Zi Xian has successfully merged with the demon ancestor blood crystal. A thought flashed across Lu Ming's mind. 2 years ago, Zixian was in a terrible state. She was in a daze and her eyes were tightly shut. It was as if she would be swallowed by the demon ancestor blood crystal at any time. Now, it seemed that Zixian had succeeded and evolved. The ancient demonic wings were likely the result of a successful fusion. Swoosh swoosh. Gu Changfeng and Zixian were extremely fast. They charged towards Lu Ming like two bolts of lightning. They wanted to meet up with Lu Ming. Stop them. Don't let them meet up. Yi Immortal roared and attacked at the same time. Sword light soared into the sky and slashed towards Gu Changfeng and Zixian. Yi Immortal, your opponent is me. I was injured back then. Let's fight again today. Gu Changfeng shouted coldly and charged towards Yi Immortal. The two were astonishingly fast and exchanged a few blows in the blink of an eye. You're courting death. Heavenly sword, star explosion. Kill them. Yi Immortal roared. He used his Genesis technique and pushed his battle strength to the peak. Yi Immortal's battle strength had reached the level of an invincible divine master after using his Genesis technique. Bright Moon Wind Fist. Gu Changfeng punched out. Although it seemed slow, it was actually as fast as lightning. Its power was exceptionally terrifying. The fist force exploded, causing the void to explode. The earth-shattering fist force collided with the star explosion.